Hey bottom pushers, my name is Nick and welcome back to the life and suffering of Sir Brante and what will hopefully be the final part of our redemption. Because I've worked real hard and I've planned real strategically to get to this point. Everything so far is going well. Stat-wise, I'm good. There's enough unrest in the world. I am in the right standing with Felipe El Ferro, and I just need to grow close to Sophia, and I have ticked all the boxes to get the ending to this chapter that I need. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about at the moment, then go back and watch some of the other episodes, because it would honestly take me too long to explain. So, do that. So this is the Festival of the Silver Tree, and it's a holiday that's there to celebrate when the twin gods came down to Earth, planted the silver tree as a gift for humanity. And it's kind of like a gathering at home, and everyone's kind of in high spirits, and even Mother seems, like she's not on her deathbed, even though she is fully on her deathbed. But the most shocking thing happens. She is going around like reminiscing and says about when she first met Stefan when he was 3 and he was really shy and he wouldn't play music in front of her. And he gets up and performs a song called Mother, which is actually genuinely quite heartwarming, considering what an unrelenting hound of shit he normally is. However, Gloria, being Gloria, and obviously always being the metaphorical runt of the litter and never feeling welcome in the family, she's not happy with Stefan, not really because of him, but because of, well, this time because of him. But because she writes poetry, but she's not allowed to write poetry or read her poetry or express herself in any way because she's a commoner. Only nobility can do that. So you notice that she's clutching her poems and looks a bit forlorn. So I can let Gloria read her poems, which will upset Unity, appeal to Mother, which will increase Unity, or I can interrupt Gloria, which would again negate Unity a little bit. So I think I'm going to appeal to Mother. Oh, okay. Let Mother calm Gloria down. So Gloria's not going to like it, but I need the Unity or Mummy's going to die. I feel like she's going to die anyway. I don't think I can stop this at this point, but you walk up to Mother, take her hand in yours and whisper in her ear. It's time for her to interfere and save the family celebration. Mother nods understandably. Gloria, my dear child, since you were little, I taught you to care for your soul. If I failed to convince you, please think about the family that took us in. I implore you. Do not take on noble activities. Do not infringe upon the divine order. Gloria's face blushes red with fury. She clasps the pages to her chest. That's right, Mother. Since I was little. Do you think I'm not reminded of it with every breath I take? Of all the things I'm forbidden to do because I'm lowborn? My dear girl, listen to me. There is more to life than you and your aspirations. You are a member of the Brante family, and our family is part of a greater universe. Your actions affect all of us. We're not isolated. We're being watched by the city, by the Empire, by the twin gods themselves. So I'm not allowed to bear the name, but I still have to bear all the responsibilities that come with it. What hypocrisy. To be fair, she's not wrong. Gloria runs out of the room, outraged and tearful. The family is left dumbfounded. Finally, Stefan speaks. I hope, Lydia, that you can still make her see reason. Your words were wise. Let us heed them ourselves. The celebration continues despite Gloria's absence. I mean, I've always had a close bond with Gloria and a fondness for Gloria, but you just pick your battles, please. Okay, so we're on 7 Unity, and I need to be on 8, potentially 9 Unity. I'm worried that I'm just going to be short. So, an invitation to dinner. Mayor Egmont and Mr. Elborn, Augustine Elborn, they're coming to the Bronte estate for dinner. Which, I mean, it's not dinner, it's a sit-down meeting between the two of them so they can try and hash out some of the tax issues that are going on at the moment to try and come to an agreement that will help the common people because they've kind of been at a stalemate all this time and no one's getting anywhere. Sophia hears about it and she wants me to invite her along under the pretense that she's there as a date, but she wants to kind of know what's going on and see if she can sway things in a certain direction, which is what I did in the main playthrough and it's what I'm going to do now. But also, It gets me extra unrest, which is irrelevant because that's already at maximum unrest. But it does get me plus unity and plus willpower, so amazing. So Sophia comes to dinner. They're talking amongst themselves. She gets introduced as my lady friend, but she's not really. It's just a ruse. But while the noble gentlemen are talking and disagreeing, she pipes up and is like, "Wait, you guys, get your heads out your asses. We need you, the common people. You need to do something, or we're all going to suffer beyond what is reasonable." And they go, "Well, you know what? God damn it, you're right." Nice. Success. Success is being had. Da-da. The illegitimate girl. So I think this is where Gloria asks you to help her become a Brante by name, not just by life. Because she's not technically a Brante, she's not allowed to bear the Brante name. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. Yes, that is exactly what this is. So, am I going to help Gloria become a Brante? Which gets me a +1 with Gloria and a secret plot with Gloria. Or refuse Gloria. Ooh. Which gets me the +1 unity, but it gets me extra willpower and -2 for Gloria. Okay, I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to help Gloria, because I've just checked the Destiny screen, and it's saying that I am good for everything with Mother recovering, so this is good. I'm on track for that. I don't need to worry about the unity, and this won't negatively impact the unity, so we're going to go for that. We will say, yes, Gloria, we will help you. Trust us. Which is the good, happy, fuzzy feeling that I wanted. Getting even. So, you remember Otten, he was the person who Sophia was basically given to as a servant, who was highly abusive to her, the one she escaped from. He is back in town. She's found out he's back in town, and she wants to expose him and basically ruin him. And she's asked for help doing so, but Philippe has ordered us to kind of lay low and not do anything for a while. Annoyingly, I would like to help her, but my scheming is not good enough, alas. So I'm going to refuse and have Sophia shadowed. I was just going to refuse, which is what I did before, but if I refuse and have Sophia shadowed, it gets me +1 spy network, which is good, and it gets me +1 scheming, which is good, and either way I lose 1 with Sophia. Which is okay, because I'm at maximum with Sophia at the moment, so we'll do this. We'll see how this unfolds. You shake your head. No, you will not help Sophia with this. You don't. You think Philippe's going to save you if you're a good boy. But hey, it's your funeral. I'm disappointed. With that, Sophia leaves. You call a leader Sirin into your office. Sophia's been acting strangely recently. You're concerned. You ask a leader to keep an eye on her. A leader reports to you the next morning. I followed Sophia through the city like you asked. She met some people. They acted like the last straw, but I've never seen them at our meetings before. Ever. And they're not just some greenhorns. They clearly know the trade. And they know Sophia and trust her. And she trusts them too. They've set a watch around the Arcanian's house. No two ways about it. I couldn't hear what they were saying. Would have had to get too close. What's going on? Did you and Sophia have a fight or something? That's the last thing we need right now. On the contrary, we need to pull together. That's what you always tell us. You set a leader's fears to rest. Everything's okay. You're just worried about Sophia. She seems to be involved in some kind of risky venture, but she's been keeping it a secret from you for some reason. A few days later, you hear that a gang of street thugs tried to break into Otten's mansion, but failed and were killed on the spot. Figures. Defying an Arcanian as powerful as Otten was a fool's errand. But now you know something. Sophia doesn't trust you. She's playing a game on her own. She even has her own little private gang going. What other secrets could she be hiding? But, Sophia, I thought we were besties. How dare you keep secrets from me? Here we go. This is how I grow close to Sophia. Yes. So, the hard goodbye. She has come to the print shop one evening to talk to me. Philippe has ordered her to go to Margra for potentially up to a year. So, I'm not going to see her for a while, but she's kind of come to say goodbye. My main playthrough, literally all I could do was go, okay, bye, see ya. But this time I'm going to confess my love for her, because I do love her deeply. And also it means that me and Sophia grow close, which is the final tick in the box I need for the ending to this chapter. So, Sophia, I love you. And I got an achievement. You take a moment to think, then sit next to Sophia. After another pause, you finally speak your mind. Also, I've never actually said this out loud, but I think it all the time. This piece of music that plays in these moments is beautiful. You've had this feeling ever since you were a child. You've tried to fight it, tried to ignore it, but it was all in vain. And now there's no reason to hide it anymore. You remember every moment you spent together. The games you used to play, her escape from the city, your chance encounter in Eterna. You've both experienced plenty of misfortune in your lives, but you're still happy because you've always been together. And then you say it. I love you. I will always be there for you. I will keep you safe from the rest of the world. There is nothing I would not do for you. Sophia freezes as though she's forgotten how to breathe. She interrupts you in a hushed whisper. Why? This can't be happening. This isn't real. It's never real. Nobody stays. Everybody leaves one way or another. I'm leaving right now, and then you'll leave me too. You get down on your knees before Sophia and kiss her tobacco-stained fingers. You embrace her with great care, holding her close, stroking her hair. No, you will never leave her. Not ever. Her back grows stiff, but then Sophia's shoulders begin to shake. She's crying. Crying. You never thought it was possible. You wipe the tears from her eyes. She holds your face in her hands and kisses you on the lips. There's nothing to say. She feels exactly the same. You can't stop. You don't want to stop. Your head's swimming in a blissful daze, your mind all but gone, dissolved in those kisses. The warm caresses, so gentle. The whispers, so soft and sweet. The beating of your heart. Sound of discarded clothing falling on the floor. Woohoo! Okay, this just became an erotic novel, people. She is so vulnerable. So amazingly, impossibly defenseless. You never thought she would open herself to you like this. And yet here she is, right by your side, smiling and crying, laughing and kissing, touching and caressing, looking at you so tenderly, all at once. The night lasts an eternity. You are with her. She is yours. The sun rises. She has to leave. You can barely force yourself to let her go. Your kisses follow her to the doorstep. You promise to wait for her. You swear to remain by her side until the very end. Just before the door shuts, Sophia gives you a sheath containing a misericord, a long, slender dagger. Here, it's for you. May I give you strength. You can do anything. I know it. It's just the way it is. That was amazing, Niklaus. The memory of our night together is the most precious thing I'm bringing with me. It will tide me over until I come back. Take care, and don't be afraid of anything. Our cause is just. She gives you a long, slow kiss, then leaves at last. The door closes quietly behind her. The last straw is on your shoulders now, but you're no longer alone. Okay. So as long as I don't screw up... Ooh, an affair with Sophia. So yeah, as long as I'm not forced into doing anything that makes me loyal to Philippe, then we are good for the ending that I want, which is great. The Legion in the city. So, because there's more and more unrest, more commoners have taken to the streets to kind of make their voices heard, and the nobility is getting increasingly uncomfortable. So Gaius Tempest has sent the Legion to the city to kind of keep order. One of the commanders of the Legion army is Thomas. So, I have a couple of options here about how I can try and swing this in my favour. Before I convinced Thomas to cooperate, because I died. However, I can either use Thomas, which knocks my spy network down by 2 and reputation down by 1, or, which I think I'm going to do, is incite the common people to riot against them, which still knocks down my spy network, but only by 1, and increases my eloquence. So, we'll go for this one. You have about a dozen leaflet sketches to choose from. Legion out of Anizotte. The slogan is written in big, bright red letters over a profile of the Overseer's deep blue visage. It'll do. The Legionnaires are patrolling the streets, but you know how to get things done without being spotted. It only takes a night for the leaflets to appear on every street corner in Anizotte. The battalion's arrival has already upset the city, and all you have to do is call for action against the Overseer's move. The next morning, you hear people quoting your leaflets on the streets and children screaming at Legion soldiers to leave. You spot Thomas on your way home from work. He's still standing in front of his old home, reading a leaflet glued to the wall. With a heavy sigh, he finally tears it off and tosses the crumpled piece of paper to the ground. You hail Thomas and greet him as you come closer. "Hey Nicholas, did you see this? What happened to our city while I was gone? I was really looking forward to coming back. I begged Gaius Tempest to give me this command. I honestly thought I was coming here to protect my friends and family against insurgents and rioters. But guess I was wrong. People I care about don't want my protection. They hate me, Brante. Do you?" You stand there silently. After a moment, you politely wish Thomas a good night and head back home. Ooh. The Legion battalions commanded by Thomas Guerrero remain stationed in the city for 2 months. The soldiers continue patrolling the streets and try their best to act carefully, but their attempts at peacemaking only further irritates the already inflamed populace. Your leaflets have turned the people of Anizotte against the Legion. The protests on the streets and in the squares continue. More and more new leaflets continue to appear throughout Anizotte. The city is even more restless than before. After 2 months of this, Gaius Tempest finally orders the battalion back to Castle Enery. Prefect Augustine Elborn is once again entrusted with keeping the peace. Okay. Usual suspects. So that's fine, because Philippe hasn't seen my loyalty, which is good. This is what I wanted. He knows that I've been doing something behind his back, which is where it's kind of good that I've got El Vermin and Mayor Eggman on side, because I can kind of throw one of them under the bus. He's gonna say, "I know what you did," and I have to tell him something, and then he's gonna have his henchmen beat me half to death. Not fully to death though, which is nice. Only half to death. Interestingly, one of the options I have is I can deny my guilt, because my manipulation is so high. It is going to completely clear me out of willpower, which could be a problem. I could live to regret that decision. But it does increase my standing with Philippe a little bit, so this is good. And because all of the other Betray Sophia isn't on the cards at all, but both Betray Elverman and Betray Egmont. I mean, either way, I lose all my willpower. But I also go -4 with Philippe, which is not good. Yeah, I'm going to deny my guilt. You need to remain calm. Philippe doesn't know anything for sure. He's just fishing. The advisor's a hard man to deceive, but you've learned a lot over the years. Looking Philippe straight in the eye, you tell him that this test makes no sense. None of his enemies could possibly have counted on your help, not even for a second. You've made no deals. You've conspired with no one. You've not betrayed Sir Advisor. You're loyal to him and him alone. Philippe gazes at you for a moment, then snaps his finger. Moss lifts his foot from your clothes. His men move aside a bit. Fine, Brante. You've passed the test. Your loyalty is admirable. I need a man in Margaret I can trust. You may stay here until midnight. Loyalty deserves to be rewarded. They leave. You sit down right on the marble floor, trying to calm your pounding heart. Just a little bit longer, and you would have involuntarily given yourself away. Oh good, I managed to avoid a beating as well. Imagining your limp body floating in the pool, you feel no desire to stay. You wait a little while longer, then go home. Okay. Cool. So I just got to enjoy a nice spa treatment without the being beaten half to death thing. The hunt for Thomas. So Otten, who is Thomas's commander or captain, can't remember the hierarchy of that. Otten hates Thomas, and he's found an excuse to turn everyone else against Thomas. So now Thomas is on the run. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. So I can get Thomas out of the city, which is what I did on my first playthrough. That knocks down the spy network and wealth, which isn't good. Or I can not get involved. I get more willpower, but Thomas dies his true death. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. because I really can't have the spy network hitting 0. Wealth isn't so much of a problem. Okay, Thomas, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. You lower the note into the flame of a candle. It's reduced to ash in a matter of moments. You will not try to save Thomas Guerrero. His fate is in his own hands. It's time for you to go. You have business to attend to. You manage to finish all your errands before lunch. You decide to take the rest of the day off and reward yourself with a stroll through the city. First, you come to the square in the Silver District. Sitting on the edge of the old fountain, you watch the noble carriages pass by. The canopy of the silver tree casts a soothing shadow over you. The sun is well past noon now. You continue your walk. A noisy group of students burst out of Sir Tibor's school. The young men have just finished their studies for the day. You were a student there not long ago yourself. You decide to watch the sun set by the city wall. You have an excellent view of the desert, painted by the flaming hues of the setting sun. You gaze at the remnants of the wooden fort from your childhood, but it's getting very late. Time to head home. The next morning, a dead body with numerous knife wounds is found near the city gate. A Legion captain by the name of Thomas Guerrero has met his true death. Oh, Thomas, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. An urgent deal. So Father Lennart, who's kind of the head honcho of the New Faith, he's come to you and said, I want to create a march of the New Faith to make sure we are equally as established and as understood as the Old Faith. He wants you to print off summons to send all across Magna. Before, I fulfilled his request. Pretty sure that's what I did. However, this time, I have to be very careful, because my reputation is currently sitting at 2. If that gets to 0, then the family's name is ruined. So I think I'm going to have to contact the Inquisition, which means my unrest will drop by 1, which is okay. My spy network will drop by 1, which is okay, but I do gain some reputation. Yes, you tell him. Of course your print shop will accept Father Lennart's order. As soon as the abbot blesses you with the sign of the twins and leaves, you pull out a blank sheet of paper and write a letter to the Inquisition. You describe today's encounter and the abbot's strange request, noting that his activities clearly go beyond matters of religion. Father Lennart holds too many people under his sway, and if he's allowed to deliver his sermon, it could spark unrest of immense proportions. After all, new believers who reject the lots of Isatius might seek to reach the peak through a violent struggle against the Church. Once the letter is done, you tell a leader to bring it to the Inquisition ward. The next morning, a woman appears in the doorway of the print shop, clothed in a black cassock and bearing the telltale silver seal of the Inquisition. Her face seems somehow familiar. 'Cause it's Jen! Are you Nicolaus Brante? I am Inquisitor Jen. Perhaps you remember me. We met long ago when we were just children by the temple at the Silver Tree. I still remember our encounter, although you've changed so much since then. But I digress. I'm here for a reason. I have read your letter. You invite her in to continue the conversation. The Inquisitor refuses. I won't stay long. Frankly, I just came here to say thank you on behalf of the Order. We've long suspected Lennart of fomenting discord among the flock. Your report has helped us greatly. You say you're happy to help the protectors of the faith, but what will happen to Lennart now? Jen reacts to your question with a wry smile. He will face the Inquisition tribunal. The heretic will likely remain an abbot, I'm afraid, but he will be forbidden to preach in Margra forever. Never again will his sermons lead souls from the path of the true faith. You deserve much of the credit for this, Nicolaus. The new believers grow desperate. Fear and confusion spreads among them. It will be a long time before they can begin to recover from such a devastating blow. Unfortunately, the last straw did not benefit from the incident, but a month later, in a casual conversation with Stefan, you hear the nobility of Anizotte now count the Brontes among the most zealous followers of the Old Faith. This must be the work of the Inquisitor Jen. Okay, I do need to be very, very, very careful about my spy network. I don't know if anything happens when it reaches 0, but okay, the lesser evil. So this is about the lesser evil. This is about Gloria becoming a Bronte. So basically, Gloria wants to become a Brante. Stefan does not want Gloria to become a Brante. Father doesn't know what to do. And Stefan's idea is we will just marry her off to somebody. So I push pressure on Father before. It knocks down my unity, which I don't want. Oh, Gloria, I'm very, very sorry. I can't take the hit on unity, I'm afraid. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm going to have to say nothing and let Daddy-O decide. And I'm guessing by her status being betrothed, that's the decision he goes with. You embrace Gloria and hold her close, but say nothing. She looks into your eyes, hopeful, but all she hears is your dull response. Only the family's patriarch and heir can decide this matter. Your sister pushes herself away as soon as she hears this, her eyes filled with quiet resentment. Well said. Nikolaus has such respect for his elders. Truly a vital tenet of any worthy family. Oh, shut up, you prick. So, Father, what shall we do with this letter? We mustn't rush, Stefan. This is a very important decision. We have to consider it carefully. We are giving Gloria away to another family. Another noble family, no less. El Pelletier is madly in love with Gloria, Father. We need to strike while the iron is hot. Who else would accept such a lowborn lass into an exalted and wealthy home? Sir Robert, please, I'll just be someone else's property. Please let me stay in your home. I'm not asking you to adopt me. All I'm looking for is my own little place in the world. After Gloria's speech, Father slowly begins to lose his temper. Don't be so ungrateful, Gloria. You know I support granting more freedoms to the common estate, but you have become too obstinate for your own good. The nobleman wants to take you into his home, and you have the nerve to resist? Stefan's right, you're behaving like a silly, petulant girl. With a quick flourish of the quill, Father signs El Pelletier's letter. Gloria's head droops helplessly. You leave me no choice, Sir Roberts. I will do as you say. There's sadness in your sister's eyes as she looks at you once more, then leaves the sitting room. Unbelievable. We finally talked some sense into her. Now we just need to make a good impression on El Pelletier. I'm glad you refused to pander to her whims, Nikolaus. Gloria is her own worst enemy. She's lucky she has us to take care of her. I don't feel good about that, but Gloria has become the wife of noble Sir El Pelletier and left for his estates. Oh. Hopefully he's a good husband. A dangerous haul. So Father Fuad, who works at the print shop and for the last straw, he has come across an unusual discovery. He has found himself a crate of guns. And remember before when I said that gunpowder is illegal to own? Well, guns are just super illegal to own. Like, even looking at a gun can get you killed. That's dramatic. But basically, guns bad. And he's found a crate of them. I also realised his name is Father Foud, not Fuad, like I've been saying, but either way, it's a stupid name. So the guns, the crate that had the guns in it had the stamp of Egmont on it. So what do? Do we report this to Philippe, which knocks down unrest, which obviously I don't want. Inform El Vermin, which gets my spy network up and puts my Egmont in danger. Or I keep Egmont's secrets safe, which knocks down my spy network to 0, which I don't want, and increases my relationship with Mayor Egmont. Okay, I think I'm going to have to do Inform El Vermin, which is what I did on my main playthrough, because I was hoping that El Vermin could keep me safe. Turns out, but I couldn't do that in the end. But yeah, I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna tell El Vermin, and he's gonna say good, and he's gonna kind of keep that in his back pocket for if he ever needs to screw over Egmont, which he almost certainly will at some point. Okay, so we're up on 2 for Spy Network now, so good. Now it's Mother's deathbed time, so moment of truth. Let's see if I can save her life. So I'm going to lose 10 willpower, but I don't care. Damn it! Oh, son of a bitch. So if I hadn't betrothed Gloria, then I could have united the family. So okay, we'll do this then. We'll share strength with Mother. So this is what I wanted, so it's all good. You'll not give up so easily. There's a reason you fought tooth and nail to keep this family together all these years, resolving every dispute within the Brante home. You lean down to Mother's ear and begin to whisper. No, Mother's not failed anyone. She's always given her all to this family. She taught you well, and she took good care of you. She has nothing whatsoever to blame herself for. Your family is torn apart by quarrels, but you're still a family, because of Mother. She has no right to abandon you in this dark hour. With a great effort, Mother lifts her head slightly. She looks over the faces of her family huddled round the bed. Gloria, with her arms folded on her chest in an unspoken prayer. Nathan pressing himself timidly against his sister. Stefan, his head on Father's shoulder, his eyes full of sorrow. A faint, humble glimmer of hope appears in Mother's eyes. We are still a family. You stroke Mother's hair gently. Yes we are. We're all Brontes. We're a family. And as long as we remember that we are one, we will weather any storm and overcome any strife. Times are changing, but the family must face these changes. But was it not Mother who taught us to face life with humility? Mother sits up in bed. The colour returns to her placid cheeks. Mother, you're not leaving us. Brother, your words are better than any medicine. Lydia. Niklaus is right. I simply cannot abandon you like this. The twins only know what you'll get up to without me around. The family laughs with relief. The days pass, and Mother's condition continues to improve. The illness that once seemed so intractable slowly releases her from its clutches. Moreover, the family squabbles have stopped for her sake. At least for now. Woo! Nice. Achievement! Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now let's finish this chapter off the right way. The Gilded Cage. This is brand new because this is Gloria being betrothed. Stefan's efforts are about to bear fruit. All the arrangements have been taken care of. All the negotiations are done. Gloria shall marry Sir Jose El Pelletier. It was no easy task to arrange this match between a nobleman and a commoner whose father has rejected her. Every single member of El Pelletier's family did their best to change the young nobleman's mind, but he refused to relent. Stefan did his best too. He spent an eternity convincing the groom's family that Gloria has received an excellent education and will make Sir Jose a fine wife. And so the wedding day has come. The family prepares Gloria for the long journey. The wedding ceremony will be held at a church next to the El Pelletier estate. As tradition demands, no one else is allowed to attend the wedding. Gloria is completely silent today. She meekly allows the servants to change her into the coarse, humble garments her lot demands she wear before the twins, all without saying a word. Gloria, say something, I beg of you. This marriage is the best thing the Bronte family can do for you. You're about to join a noble bloodline. Gloria stares back at Sir Robert, her mother's husband, who never became her father. There is bitter sorrow in her gaze. I think it's more likely I'll be added to their family's opulent collection as another exhibit. But still, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, Sir Robert. You've destroyed the last of my illusions. My fate rests in the hand of my noble masters, and it always will. Father responds with a heavy sigh. At a loss for words, you prefer not to intervene. Gloria would rather not speak to you anyway. Just outside the door, you hear the neighing of horses and Stefan's excited voice. Gloria, your groom has arrived. The man who enters Gloria's chambers behind Stefan is Gloria's betrothed, Jose El Pelletier himself. His dignified bearing and the thin features of his wistful face betray his noble origins. An elegant earring glints in his ear, a concession to modern high fashion. El Pelletier greets the bride's family with a gallant bow and gently kisses the hem of Gloria's dress. The young noble of the sword takes great pains to remain composed, but standing so close to his future wife, he cannot help but let his emotions show. Oh, good sirs, I fell in love with Gloria the moment I laid eyes on her at that fateful party so long ago. If I may, I give you my word that you are giving her to a respected and prosperous home. And, from what Sir Stefan has told me, your family standing will only benefit if Gloria becomes a member of another family. After all, I am a born nobleman with a hereditary title. No scandalous rumours or gossip regarding my wife's origins can ever harm me. and any man who dares to speak a word of slander against Gloria shall face a duel to the true death. Well said indeed. A most wonderful outcome for everyone involved. Gloria will want for nothing. I will keep her safe from all the world's troubles, free to write poetry, indulge in entertainment, and serve her husband. The enamoured noble gazes at Gloria with a tender expression. She hides her eyes behind her unkempt hair. There is a hopeless look about her. Gloria, my love, it is time. Our journey calls. The temple is ready for the ceremony. Very soon we shall announce the sacred intertwining of our destinies to the twins themselves. And then your new home and new life await. I will do as you say, Sir El Pelletier, but please allow me to say my goodbyes to the gentlemen who have given me food and shelter. To Father, she gives a deep bow full of reverence. Family patriarch remains silent, but tears run down his face. Then your sister embraces Nathan, who came home gloomy and worse for wear even today. Oh, I'm sorry I drank all night. I couldn't stop. I just can't accept that you won't be at home anymore. She ruffles her younger brother's hair and whispers something in his ear. His face brightens, if only a little. And then she bows to Stefan, a bow so impeccable it can only be interpreted as mockery. She walks past you scornfully, refusing to recognise your presence with even the slightest gesture. Farewell, Niklaus. I must admit, you did a fine job getting me out of the way. I hope it was worth it. He remains silent. El Pelletier takes Gloria to his carriage. The driver flicks the whip, and the horses take the bride and groom outside the city and to the church, to face the twins in the austere ritual that awaits them. Once wed, they will head straight to the groom's estate. Gloria has left the Brante home for good. With an expression of great relief, Stefan closes the door. He sits in an armchair by the window, his hand cradling a glass of wine. Oh, at last. We've done a great deed, my brother. We've arranged for the best possible life for Gloria, and removed the last obstacle standing between us and nobility of the sword. Now there's nothing preventing me from putting our family's affairs in order. This is my duty as heir. And, most importantly, we need to put all ties to Gloria behind us. She's gone from the Bronte home for good. Thank the twins and their mercy. What say you, Niklaus? You won't stand in my way, will you? Surely you won't deny that our family's affairs are my responsibility? Oh, man! Good God! Okay, I have to sever ties with Gloria. Poopies. Poopies. Fine. Sorry, Gloria. You agree? Stefan represents the future of the Bronte family, and if he says the family ought to cut all ties with Gloria, then so be it. She never belonged in the family anyway. You took care of her as well as you could. Now her fate is no longer linked to yours. I knew you'd understand me, Niklaus. Take your glass. A toast to the future of the Bronte family. You clink glasses. You note a hint of bitterness in the flavour of the mulled wine. Anyway, it's time to get down to business. I'll head to the Overseer's residence at once. We're so close to earning a hereditary title, brother. Grandfather would be so proud of us. I don't care. With that, Stefan leaves you alone. Father's locked himself in his office to brood. Nathan has wandered off somewhere to get drunk. You roam the family home that feels emptier now, lost in memories. You remember Gloria leading you by the hand through the yard and showing you the shining pillar for the very first time. You remember playing together. You remember the time you and Stefan went looking for her in the Anizotte ruins. You remember the quill and paper that were your sister's constant companions. After the wedding, you hear very little of Gloria's fate. It seems she barely, if ever, leaves the confines of the El Pelletier estate. By the will of your family and its heir Stefan Brante, you no longer have any part in your former sister's fate. Whew. Okay, so I'm definitely heading to where I want to be in terms of like the chapter end, but the cost is heavy. Thomas is dead, and Gloria I no longer have any connection with. Repentance. So you are wandering the house one night, and you hear a noise from Father's study, which is peculiar, because Father is in the land of Nod. You go in and see Nathan holding Father's dagger, and he's decided that he is just at a complete loss. He doesn't know what he wants to do, what he can do. Everything he tries fails. he needs to go and see the twins. And the only way to do that is through lesser death. Before, I didn't stop him because I couldn't do anything else. But this time I can protect brother. But if I don't stop him, then he goes to the twins, he gets to talk to them, and he comes back hopeful and reinvigorated, like he was told something. He comes back speaking of the twins' return, or one of the twins returning, which is interesting. It is going to kill my willpower. Well, it'll take me down to 0, but I'm hoping that's okay. It's risky business. Because if I protect my brother, then I don't lose willpower, but Nathan becomes consumed by despair. And I don't want Nathan to be full of despair. Bless him, he's suffered enough. I just need to be cautious about my willpower. Very, very cautious about my willpower. A family matter. So the time has come for us to try and become... Well, Stefan's been working in the background to try and get us ennobled by the sword, which means we would all be nobility by default. That time has come. We've received a letter to say, come here and you will hear your announcement and the outcome of this venture in person. Before, my only option was to sever all ties with the family, which thankfully I no longer have to worry about. But I can preserve the family, which means all hope of being ennobled by the sword is lost, but the Brante family will remain unified. That's okay. It's kind of that. I was happy with any outcome apart from several ties with the family, so this is all right. You reluctantly confess to father what both of you already know. It's clear what Gaius Tempest's decision will be. Your family's hopes of being ennobled by the sword are long gone. You had to maintain your family's reputation and fortune and peace at home. It all proved too much to handle. After expending too much energy resolving the strife within your family, you had little strength left for the rest. With a sigh, father agrees. You're right, my son. We couldn't weather the storm that came upon us. Who could even hope for a hereditary title after that? I can only imagine how your grandfather must be raging in the hereafter. The Brante patriarch uneasily considers what comes next. But our family is still together, still whole. It pains me to think that there were so many losses that could have been prevented. I must confess, at one point I even feared there might be nothing of us left, but we are still a family. Very well. We will abandon our pursuit of the nobility of the sword for our descendants, and tend to the Brante family itself. Nathan peeks into the sitting room. His hair is tousled. Father, Niklaus, what happened? Oh, no, nothing, Nathan. Life goes on. That's all. Your weary father embraces his two sons. The last of the embers that were once the letter from Gaius Tempest smoulder away in the fireplace. It was almost too much to bear, but your family ties have been preserved. The Brante family will live on. Eat shit and die again, Gregor. Okay, that got me a bit of willpower as well, which is good. Whew. Explosion. This is new. Good lord. A deafening rumble. The tinkling sound of broken glass. The pavement shudders beneath your feet. Another explosion. Sophia, what has she done? You struggle to understand what's going on. People stare in horror at the white cloud rising slowly above downtown Anizotte. Magistrate Elverman's mansion. You run towards it. The impact of the explosion is visible from several districts away. Houses and fences are crooked, and a grotesque mosaic of shattered glass litter the streets. Shrieks of terror, moans of pain. The air is still. A massive cloud of dust and gunpowder smoke blankets the entire noble district. People stumble out of the haze covered in grey dust. They look like shadows. Everything seems colourless. Only the blood oozing from the victim's wounds is a vivid, scarlet hue. A crowd of onlookers has already gathered around the ruins of Elverman's mansion. You notice a leader among them. She can hardly suppress a smile. This is the most powerful blow against the tyranny of the Empire I've ever seen. Where the magistrate's mansion once stood, there is now only a gaping hole full of rubble, ripped from the ground by the blast. The pavement around the house resembles cracked eggshells. The neighbouring homes have lost their exterior walls. and their rooms are exposed. Gendarmes pull the bodies of those who have met their true death out of the wreckage, wrap them in coarse fabric, and load them onto wagons. You feel sick. You've never seen so many dead bodies before. Mutilated in the explosion, they look only vaguely human. You force yourself not to avert your gaze. How many of them deserve this? How many just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? Servants, coachmen, simple passers-by, most of them must have been quite old, but still. Did they really have to fall victim to Sophia's plot? Sophia chose the perfect target, the murder of El Vermin, an extremely powerful nobleman of ancient lineage. Will not only remind the simple folk that the last straw is fighting tyranny, it will also instill fear in the defenders of the Empire. Did you make the wrong choice? Should you have refused Sophia and prevented this disaster? It's too late to change anything now. Okay. Did not see that coming. Good thing I wasn't relying on him to get me out of this sticky situation. The greater good. It's nighttime. The print shop is empty. You sit by a lit candle, awaiting Sophia's arrival. She finally returns. The door creaks. You can barely discern the smouldering embers of her pipe in the darkness. Her languid footsteps approach. The glow of the candlelight falls across Sophia's face. Hey there, Niklaus. You take a step forward. The familiar smell of tobacco tickles your nostrils. Sophia glances the misericord, her farewell gift. Still got it on you, huh? That's good. You'll need it soon enough. You raise your eyebrows inquiringly. It's time I told you everything. Sorry I couldn't confide in you until the last minute. I see I was wrong now. What in the world is she talking about? That moron Philippe had no idea there was a real revolt brewing right under his nose. Well, everything's finally ready. We are ready, Niklaus. The last straw is tough now. Real tough. We've got firearms, manpowder, an idea, and most importantly, the people's rage. There's no stopping it now. We just need to point it in the right direction, and bam. You ask Sophia where she intends to direct this rage. She stares at you. You can't tell whether she's surprised or dismayed. What do you mean, where? At the Empire, of course. We're going to declare war. We're going to fight until there's nothing left of the old order. We're going to fight until all those nobles are wiped out. Until the world finally changes. What the half-measures guys like Edmund want ain't going to make the world better. We're going to do this for the greater good. We're going to take the first step tomorrow. Philippe thinks he's achieved his goals. He'll order us to start his fake revolt, but we're going to start our own revolt. A real one. We'll take Philippe out, and then we'll finally be free. Sophia takes your hand. She clenches it so hard that it hurts. I want you by my side, Niklaus. It's payback time. Her eyes are fixed on you. The golden reflection of the candle flame flickers in them. No, I'm agreeing. You will be with her until the end. 100%. 100%. Not even for the stats either. I mean, I need the stats, but still. This is a decision it's a heart decision. You tell her you'll always be together. Tomorrow, you will kill Philippe and be free at last. Sophia pushes you onto the desk. The entire world disappears except for her smouldering lips and the flame of the candle. Sleepless nights. Even late at night, the streets of Anizotte echo with chatter. The city cannot sleep. You cannot sleep tonight either. Advisor El Ferro sent you a surprising note a few hours ago. He's coming. You hear slow, steady footsteps accompanied by the tapping of a cane. There's a knock at the door. Philippe enters the print shop. Sophia quietly follows him in. You exchange a nod. The print shop is crowded despite the late hour. Father Fouad, a leader, and the other workers observe Philippe uneasily. Oliver is there too. He acknowledges the Baron with a polite nod. You suddenly realise that Philippe no longer cares at all if the last straw members see his face. You walk into your office with Philippe and Sophia and lock the door. Well then, Brante, I hope your people are ready. It's time to put our plan to action. They're ready. Just give us the word. Excellent, excellent. Soon our song of victory will reach its final note. Our road has been a long one. Much longer than we thought, but now the end is in sight. I had a word with the Overseer, and in the end I managed to convince him that Elborn simply cannot maintain order in Anizotte. We are just one step away from being granted special authority for the secret chancery. All we need is an excuse for action. Prepare your people and take to the streets, and when I finally get that authority, we will eliminate each and every traitor to the Empire. Egmont, Lennart, Elborn, all of them. But those scum will probably try to flee Anizotte. I'll need the people you've recruited through Magra, Sophia. There are more than enough of them. I'm glad to hear that. How much time do you need to prepare, Brante? You shift your gaze from Philippe to Sophia. She's been standing behind him all this time, a silent shadow with her head held high, her eyes trained on you. Philippe's cane taps the floor impatiently. He's waiting for an answer. The advisor's right. The day you've worked for all these years has finally come. Are you ready? What will you do now? Oh, I love this. I love that my only option is to murder Philippe. Oh, what a happy ending. Let's do a murder. You meet Sophia's gaze. You nod. It's time. I'm asking you a question, Brante. How much time do you need to get your people ready for the revolt? Your people have been ready for a long time, you say. Sophia walks to the door and slides the bolt open. It clangs loudly. Your loyal people enter the room, one by one. A leader. Fuad. It is Fuad! God damn it. Each of them is accompanied by two muscle-bound, well-armed young men. What in the younger's name? Who are these people, Sophia? What is the meaning of this? Have you seriously decided to start before I even leave? You low-born punks can be so difficult to work with. Shut up. You've said enough. Game. The burly young man grabs Philippe by the shoulders on either side. A leader wrenches the cane from his hands and tosses it to the corner. You won't be needing this anymore. The advisor grows pale, even as he tries to retain an air of composure. So, mutiny, is it? So, and what are you going to do next, Sophia? What's your plan? I still have all my lives. I'll be back tomorrow, and none of you will ever escape me. I can assure you of that. Are you going to drag your little insurgency to the foot of the pillar along with you? Have you really found a backbone now? Your little sacrifice changes nothing. You know that. And you, Brante, so you're staying loyal to this two-faced, backstabbing trollop? Or did you happen to buy into the lies you were feeding them? Big mistake. A swift blow cuts him short. Sophia knees Philippe in the groin. He doubles over in pain, gasping for air. Thought I told you to shut up. What happens next is none of your concern. We're going to put this man on trial, Niklaus. The People's Court will judge him. I want you to carry out the sentence. You unsheath Sophia's gift, the Misericord. The People's Court? What kind of dog and pony show is this? Another blow convinces Philippe to remain silent. He's forced to his knees. You form a circle around him. Philippe L. Ferro, for crimes against the people, for tyranny, for the murder of innocents, we, the People's Court, hereby sentence you to true death. What say you, judges? The people gathered around you throw their fists in the air and shout, Death! The People's Court has spoken. You stab Philippe hard in the chest with the dagger. The blade hits the advisor between the ribs and sinks down to the hilt. Pathetic farce! Philippe collapses to the floor. Blood begins to pool under his body. The rebels step uneasily away from the growing puddle. Sophia stays where she is. Her eyes remain fixed on the advisor's corpse. A moment passes, and then another. The dead body remains in place. Philippe has met his true death. You can't believe your eyes. The People's Court, whatever it may be, wields the same authority as the Prefecture. Your word has become the law. Philippe has left this world forever. Sophia wipes the sweat from her brow. With a deep breath, she straightens her shoulders. The yellow sparks in her eyes gleam brighter than you've ever seen before. We've got our work cut out for us now, Niklaus. Gather everyone, down to the last man. the new believers, Egmont's miners, the homeless, the farmers. Tell them all to get ready. Anyone who supports us needs to hit the streets and unleash their rage against the nobles and the Empire. We'll use the ruckus they raise to deal with the rest of the secret Chancellery's agents. First things first, we'll purge the last straw of Philippe's bootlickers. Retribution is inevitable. That's the law of the lands. And now it's time for all the nobles and Arknians to pay for their crimes and stand trial before the people's court. But what will you do with Philippe's body? Nail it to the Chancellery gate. We don't need to hide it anymore. With that, Sophia leaves the print shop with several of your men. The fringe of her dress, still soaked in blood, drips a crimson trail on the floor behind her. Okay then. Good night, God bless, rest in peace. The last straw's revolt. Freedom. So intoxicating, so easily sliding into lawlessness. The desire for freedom infiltrates minds and hearts like a poison, leading people to commit monstrous crimes. Freedom is like fire. In untrained hands, it can burn everything down. The Chancellery now bears the banner of the last straw, a hand clutching a lantern, its beam cleaving the darkness. The body of Philippe El Ferro is chained to the Chancellery gate for all to see. There is a wooden wheel on his stiff neck, the mark of the secret Chancellery. The mob is eager to pelt the advisor's corpse with stones. The gendarmes seized Mayor Egmont in the first few hours of the result. He was swiftly sentenced to true death for treason against the Empire and beheaded. His head was put on a stake in front of the Lesser Quorum to frighten the people into submission. But it didn't work. The common people have seen Mayor Egmont as their true protector for years now. His death has only enraged them. The people fill the streets. Tempers run high, thanks in no small part to the last straw's provocateurs. A spark has fallen on dry tinder, and now the entire city has caught fire. With Philippe dead, the authorities are helpless against your uprising, just as planned. The Legion, the noble militia, the Prefecture gendarmes, they can do nothing to stop the revolt. Your guns and gunpowder have crushed their every attempt to restore order. Sophia's little army has defeated the Empire's first attempts to resist your movements, and now, for one brief moment, the last straw holds sway over the entire city. Together with Sophia, you step out onto the Chancellery's tall stairs in the evening sun. The square is crowded, teeming, full of people, all of them shouting ecstatically. The time has come to pass judgments. Sophia raises an arm. Her eyes are glowing, brighter than ever before. The crowd falls silent. Listen, everybody. The nobles will never dare to oppress the commoners again. We've got weapons, we've got men. We are the last straw. The old world order is about to come to an end. Today they tried to stop us on our way to freedom. They will be punished by the people's court. One by one, your people drag Philippe's thugs out before the crowd and make them kneel in the dust. You spot Moss among them, glancing around like a cornered beast. The mob screams in their faces. The people you see before you are loyal lapdogs of the secret Chancellery. They all serve the man who now hangs on the fence behind me. Today, we put them on trial. Your men line up before the prisoners. You give the command. Ready?
Please, Nicholas, spare me. I want to live. I was always faithful to you. I don't deserve to die.
Enemies of freedom. For crimes against the people of Anizotte, we, the People's Court, hereby sentence you to true death. You raise an arm. Aim! The gunmen train their muskets on the prisoners. What say you, judges? People in the crowd pump their fists into the air. The cacophony of disparate voices merge into one. Death. The People's Court has spoken. You drop your hand. The guns fire all at once. Bodies fall to the ground. The mob watches in awe as blood begins to drip down the Chancellery stairs. The bodies remain forever dead. And then they scream in terror and glee. A choir of voices so deafening, it makes the nearby windows shake. The word of the people has become the law. We cannot be stopped. We have tolerated the tyranny of the Empire for far too long. The time has come to take our destiny into our own hands. Those imperial bastards can't stop our righteous revolution. Arm yourself, people. Your freedom is in your hands. You walk down the stairs, accompanied by the cries of the people. Freudmund, take the men and tell everyone to leave the square. Then get to the city walls. We need to get all the gates under control. Gaius Tempest is probably already on his way here with his battalions. Aye aye. Who's that? Sophia turns to you. Although utterly exhausted, she still manages a smile. Told you I was nothing but trouble. Even I don't know what's going to happen next. Doesn't matter anymore, you seller. Now you will either win or you will hang. No two ways about it. Sophia laughs. Well said. I've got an urgent job for you, Niklaus. We've done well, but our foothold here is still too weak. If our enemies decide to work together, we'll be crushed. We need to split up. I'll arm the new recruits. Freudman will defend the walls. You keep an eye on the city. We have to finish off our enemies here in Anizotte and find new allies to support us. You promise to do everything you can. Sophia's fingers lightly brush against your cheek. Her lips find yours, briefly, but there's little time to waste. I love you. She leaves the square before you can manage a reply. You leave as well. The reassembled gendarmes and garrison battalions soon retake the Chancellery and most of the central districts. Night falls, and for a brief moment, the city is quiet once more. Oh, sorry, Egmont. Sorry, Remy. Well, I got the revolt I wanted. Ooh, Jesus. What now? Okay, well, we actually made it to the end of peacetime this time. Oh, good lord. So yeah, I got the outcome I wanted, but as I said earlier, the cost was high. The cost was very, very high. Okay. Final chapter.
At last, the day has come which would decide my fate, as well as that of my family, and perhaps the entire Empire. The day of the revolt.
I'm imagining this is probably going to be quite a short chapter. I don't know if that's true, but that's my guess. Let's get our revolt on, people. Let's do it. After 8 years of careful plotting, the streets of Anizotte are ablaze with the flames of rebellion. Philippe's scheme to use a fake uprising to strengthen his own position has birthed a genuine revolt. Alas, the advisor is not here to witness it. Sophia executed him without mercy. Mayor Egmont is also dead, and his supporters have joined the last straw. Sophia is planning to take over Anizotte, and she has no intention of negotiating with the Overseer. Harsh and merciless, she believes the freedom can only be taken by force. To be honest, she's probably not wrong. Her revolt will inevitably destroy the Empire. Disgruntled citizens are uprising all over the city. The last straw's result has led the masses to wage a desperate struggle for their rights. It cannot be stopped anymore. Despite the growing chaos, you have no fear. After all these years, you're finally free, and soon your city will be free as well. Ooh, okay, so we have new things here. Revolt. Okay, it seems to have just skipped all of this stuff, so I'm gonna take a little gander of this now. So there's chapter outcomes, there's family outcomes, and there's personal outcomes. The personal outcomes I'm not going to discuss with you right now in the name of spoilers. However, I'm thinking with chapter outcomes, I'm going to go for the Legion is defeated. So the revolt wins I'm torn by two. The revolt wins a decisive victory over the Imperial forces. So for that, I need to be leading the revolt. The revolt needs to be above 6 or above. I need to have 2 or more troops, and the common folk needs to be bang on 3. So that's my ideal. I'm also thinking my backup is the Anizotte massacre if things go a bit wrong. So the revolt needs to be above 6, and Sophia needs to be leading the revolt. And when it comes to family, it looks like I'm just going to be given a choice, so I don't need to have certain outcomes for that. So I'm thinking probably the family has fled, because we'll get them to safety. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Achievement! Oh, okay. Now it's telling me. Right, so my victory conditions either peaceful or military. Either way, I need to be leading the revolt, which is interesting. I'm just going to write this down because otherwise I'm going to forget. At dawn, for years now, Anizotte has been simmering like a cookpot over a slow flame. The powerlessness of the simple folk, unable to change the old order, has gradually given way to rage. Finally, this anger became stronger than their age-old submission to the higher estates and their fear of divine retribution. This rage was the spark that lit the fire of the revolt. All of Anizotte's commoners have risen up in rebellion. Workers, artisans, merchants, beggars, they all long to break free of noble tyranny and the perpetual suffering that is their lot. The most daring among them have joined the last straw, the secret society that sends entire squads of trained soldiers out into the streets. They hand out guns and bombs to the people, weapons that give them a chance to wage war on equal footing against noblemen descended from generations of warriors. But the most dangerous weapon the rebels possess is the People's Court. The commoners have claimed the right to sentence their enemies to true death. The first nobles executed by the last straw this very night served as proof that these sentences are real. For the first time in the history of the Empire, the divine force of the law is in the possession not only of the noblemen, but also of the common estate. Among the rebels, there are many new believers. They're ready to take up arms to defend their faith and freedom from the lots. They're led by Lennart, the abbot of the temple by the Silver Tree. Prefect Elborn's allegiances remain unknown. The Supreme Judge has taken such pains to give the lowly estate more right. Will he support a revolt that strives to do the same? Anizotte has recently been rocked by a series of spontaneous assemblies and protests. The mob demands equal rights for all estates and freedom from the tyranny of the nobles. The authorities must recognise the new faith and grant the commoners the right to choose their own lot. By nightfall, the rebels had disposed of the guards and taken over the city. In a matter of minutes, Anizotte was under their control. It's the duty of Overseer Gaius Tempest to crush the revolt. The Archnean nobleman feared for his own position and power, so he was reluctant to punish the rebellious city as discontent slowly grew year by year. But the ensuing uprising has left him no choice. The Overseer has announced a full-scale mobilisation. In the morning, the Legion will march towards Anizotte under his command and attempt to return the city to Imperial authority with fire and sword. The expeditious arrival of the Legion is the only hope the nobles have left now that they're locked inside the city. Members of the higher estate, especially the old aristocratic families, fear the coming rampage and strive to keep order on the streets. Meanwhile, the Inquisition led by Sister Jeanne is trying to stop the new believers and urging the people to reject the revolt. Both groups are aware that if the rest of the province follows Anizotte into rebellion and chaos, the Empire itself and the Divine Order will begin to crumble. After nightfall, the city grows quiet. Its courtyards and squares are empty. In mansions and palaces, hasty negotiations are held, and schemes are concocted. In dark cellars, the revolt is being prepared, and armed units are gathering. Parishes are quickly ready to defend the temples of the new faith against the Inquisition. All citizens, rich and poor, common and noble, are arming themselves, some with ancestral swords, others with cleavers. Anizotte is preparing, waiting for the dawn. As the Legion arrives for the assault, the rebels assemble into a militia and get ready to fend off the Imperial army. But there's little unity in their camp. Their leaders are already mired in a power struggle. There are also defenders of the Imperial Order within the city walls, members of the old aristocracy, soldiers of the Inquisition, priests of the Old Faith, commoners unwilling to defy the law and the Twins' design. These people too refuse to lay down their arms. The first rays of the rising sun light up the horizon. This day will go down in history. Your entire life has led to this moment. Step by step, you've made yourself the man you are now. Your actions today could alter the course of history. But are you ready to go the distance? What will have become of you by the time the sun sets? Ooh. It's getting tense now. Oh, okay, now it's going to show everything. I was obviously just too eager to find out all of the options. Wow, this is literally all just one day. Jesus. the family's fate. Oh good, so because I kept them together, I can decide what happens to them now. The first rays of the morning sun reach the windows of your family home. It would be so easy to forget about the impending revolt here within these old, familiar walls. But the calm before the storm will soon be over, and yesterday's turmoil will return. There are only a handful of hours left. The Brontes have to decide what to do. Should the family stay in the city and prepare to weather the storm? Should they join the struggle? Should they simply avoid it? After a sleepless night, you gather in the sitting room as a family once again. Father is the first to speak. His determined, yet surprisingly calm voice fills the room. This is what I was afraid would happen. The noble estate has turned a blind eye to the common people's misery, and now we have a revolt on our hands. It's my fault as well. I did all I could to serve the cause of justice, but it just wasn't enough, and now blood will be shed. The family patriarch casts a somber gaze over his children. I want to make one thing very clear. Today, our family cannot get involved in the unrest. We will not take sides. I feel for the common estate, but we're not getting dragged into a hopeless bloodbath. As for preserving the Overseer's rule in Anizotte, we will not sacrifice ourselves for that either. He has led Margaret to this rebellion, and now it's up to him and his legion to deal with the rebels. And we mustn't forget Commander Otten and his noble militia. They're all too eager to use this opportunity to slaughter all the nobles they blame for the revolt. Father is silent for a while. Then he takes his sword off the wall and places it firmly on the table. His voice rings with the coldness of steel. We will stay in our city and protect our home. Whatever danger we might face today, Brontes will not surrender their home, their status, or their place in this world. None of you have ever seen Father so filled with resolve. But he still seeks your support. Robert, patriarch of the Bronte family, meets your gaze. My son, I know you're going to make your own decision. You're too deeply involved in this conflict to just stand aside. But right now, I'm talking about our family here, Niklaus. Our family must remain out of harm's way, no matter what you decide to do. I'm gonna get them to leave. I don't want them caught up in the conflict. They are essentially a noble family. They will get caught up in this. Shoot, but that drains my willpower. No, they're gonna have to flee because surely, well, I don't know. Because does this mean I am protecting the home as well? Is that gonna screw things for the rest of it? No, flee the city. Flee the city. Hopefully that's okay. You respond firmly. Father is wrong. Family cannot remain in the city any longer. You have too many enemies. An attack on the Bronte home is inevitable. The family needs to take advantage of the uprising to leave Anizotte before it's too late. Father hesitates. He looks first at you, then at grandfather's portrait on the wall. The late Gregor Bronte stares back at his progeny, implacable and stern. I can't just abandon our home. We'd be giving up our entire lives. You put your hand on Father's shoulder. Even if your family leaves the city, your lives will not end. The Bronte legacy will live on. As a nobleman and the head of the household, it's Father's duty to keep the family safe, even if that means making sacrifices. Father lets out a bitter sigh and puts his sword back on the table. You're right, Niklaus. My children are more important than my former life. I must protect them. Now hurry. We need to get ready for our journey. We're leaving this city. Everyone starts packing hurriedly. You take only what you need and nothing else. You move from room to room, gathering family jewels and heirlooms into a sack, watching the house grow empty and abandoned before your very eyes. Will the Brontes ever return to its home? Will you ever see it again? Niklaus. You turn around and look behind you as you carry your belongings to the gate. The hunched, hapless silhouette of your younger brother appears on the steps. Nathan hurries towards you. By their will. Your younger brother stands before you, clutching an old prayer book. He speaks, sighs deeply, then begins to speak. I know you're in a hurry, Niklaus. I'll try not to take up too much of your time. As you know, my faith has wavered all my life. The twins know how much I've sinned, but even in my darkest hour, I knew they hadn't turned away from our world. I knew they'd still cared. I knew they still cared. Nathan is quiet for a moment, watching a tiny ant make its way across the porch. But I just can't understand. No matter how hard I try. What's happening to us? This revolt against the Empire. How did the twins let it happen? Is this even possible? I mean, the twins made the whole world as part of their design, didn't they? Does that mean the entire world is about to fall apart? This revolt, what is it? Please help me understand. Nathan's sullen gaze rises towards the shining pillar, but the thick, grey clouds are already moving towards the city. The shining strip at the edge of the sky is growing dimmer by the second. You watch the sky too, lost in thought. What will you tell him? I'm going to say he should ask the Elder, because he's already spoken to the Elder, so only the twins themselves know the truth. Nathan can ask them himself. Hey, Nathan the Prophet. Nice. Your hand comes to rest on Nathan's shoulder. You've always tried to guide your little brother to the truth, but right now, only the gods themselves hold the answer he seeks. But you believe that he has the power to ask the twins himself. He spoke to the Elder once. Surely he can speak to him again. Nathan falls silent, dumbstruck by your words. He unconsciously touches the sacred symbol he wears on his chest. Niklaus, you believe me? You really believe the Elder spoke to me? Your eyes shift to the silver tree. It's always stood over the city. It brings back so many memories. You recall the way you felt when you first saw it up close. And then you speak. Yes, you tell Nathan. You believe him. And you believe in him. Your little brother kneels silently. He bows his head and speaks a prayer to the Elder. Nathan's body begins to tremble. His eyes roll back in their sockets. The sacred symbol in his hand burns with a silver flame. You try to call out to him, but your mouth won't open. Your lips are sealed tight. The air is growing heavy. Time and space freeze. A few moments seem to last an eternity, and then it passes. Nathan leaps to his feet, his eyes wide. I heard him. I did. He's here, Niklaus, the Elder. He walks among us. The Elder is looking for an answer, just like me. He's calling out to us. He wants to know what happened to our world. He wants to hear us. I need to find him. Nathan suddenly stops in mid-thought. But our family needs me now too, right? We've got to stick together. Your hand comes to rest on brother's shoulder once again. What's done is done. He has seen the truth, and it will never let him go. It's time for Nathan to walk his own path. He must find the Elder. He must make himself heard. Nathan smiles meekly and embraces you as awkwardly as ever. I'll never forget everything you've done for me, brother. Farewell. Before he leaves, Nathan hesitates for a moment. He casts one final glance at the family home, then disappears beyond the gate. He walks alone now, combing the streets for a mere moments before they erupt in madness. But this is Nathan's one true path now. Nathan has fulfilled his destiny, it would seem. Escape from Anizotte. The house where you were born and raised is empty now. All the supplies, clothes and valuables you need for the journey have been packed into an inconspicuous looking carriage. I'm very concerned that I'm about to leave too. I don't want to leave. The horses neigh nervously at every sound, every shout echoing down the street. Father puts a heavy lock on the gate of the house. He takes one last look at the estate with its covered windows and boarded up doors, then turns to you. We're ready, son. It's time to go. We'd better hurry. The insurgents have already taken the city gate. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get out of Anizotte. Your carriage hurtles towards the perilous streets. Places and faces flash outside the small windows. You see bands of armed commoners, preachers with crowds gathered around them, nobles on horseback scrambling to defend their homes. I'd never thought I'd have to abandon our home, to leave our city behind, lost in chaos and confusion. What happened to our world, Niklaus? Is everything going to change? The city gate grows closer. Your path is blocked by a hastily erected barricade. A cordon of stone-faced commoners stand before it. They're armed, not with knives and clubs, but by muskets. One of them shouts an order as soon as he spots the carriage. The guards train their weapons on you. Hey you, the rich folks in the carriage, turn round and go back. The people control the gate now. Or maybe you think we might let one little noble slip through, so you can hightail it to the Legion and the Overseer and beg for help? Oh, I don't think so. Now beat it and pray to the twins we don't get you. With a dozen muskets trained on the carriage, you have no choice but to stop. Oh, what were we thinking? We should have seen this coming. Guards don't exactly look like saints. We can't force our way through. but maybe we can convince them somehow, or bribe them. What should we do, Niklaus? I'm going to do this. So I'll knock down one with the common folk, which is potentially a problem, but the guards know exactly who you are and will let the carriage through on your orders. You, however, will stay behind and fight for your cause. Perfect. That's what I want. I wanted to stay. I didn't want to leave. You answer father with quiet words and a wry smile. These men will do whatever you tell them to. Confidently, you open the carriage door and motion for the armoured rebels to lower their weapons. The guards recognise you and do as they're told. Oh, it's you, Brante. If you don't mind me asking, what's the last straw boss doing in a carriage with a bunch of fancy pants nobles? You coldly reply that those fancy pants nobles are your family, and they're going to leave Anizotte without incident. That is an order. Huh. So what you're saying is, we're stuck here shooing the nobles away from the gate, while you're busy sneaking them out. You bark your order again. Open the gate, Schmidt. Or is it itching to stand before the last straw caught along with the nobles? Ah, get it now. So we've got our rules, and you've got yours, eh? Oh, you noble pups are the same. Does Sophia know what you're up to? Just wait till I tell all our boys what you're really about, Brante. You look away, just barely able to contain your rage. The guards reluctantly let the carriage around the barricade. Gate swings open with a groan. This is where we must part ways. You have to stay in Anizotte and try to make a difference. You will do what you can to change the course of history. Quick embraces, rushed goodbyes. Will you ever see each other again? It pains me so much that you can't go with us, Niklaus, but I know you can't turn back now. There's too much at stake for you. Be safe, my son. We'll see each other again. I know it. The carriage passes through the gate, rushing away from Anizotte and into the serene wasteland. With a heavy groan, the gate slams shut again. You are left alone in a city of turmoil. Achievement! So the family has escaped. Mustering the Forces. The crimson sun slowly rises above the horizon. You make your way through a city in chaos, carefully observing what's happening on the streets. The rebellion is flaring up again after a night of calm. Once again, the commoners are taking to the squares in droves. The grim resolve in the rebels' eyes speak volumes. They're determined to seize their freedom or die trying. There are others, however, who are huddling inside their homes, locking their doors and praying to survive the revolt unscathed. With every passing minute, you see more and more people carrying banners. They bear a hand clutching a lantern, the mark of the last straw. The conspirators have left the shadows at last. They hand out guns to the common folk, using these last precious minutes to quickly teach them how to fire them. The artisans are out on the streets too, cobbling together makeshift shields out of wood and nails to protect them against nobles and their blades. Fortunately for the rebels, the nobles remain divided. The old noble bloodlines have sided with Dorius Oxen. The Archnean has sworn to bring down the revolt by any means necessary. His noble militia now stands guard in the Silver District, where the city's most eminent aristocrats have their homes. They represent the greatest threat to the revolt. Many nobles of the mantle, however, are all too eager to violate their oath of fealty and side with the rebels. Though ennobled to serve the Empire, they no longer want to suffer under the boot of the highborn Archneans and human gentry. But there are many more who are still undecided. Soldiers and low-ranking officers of the Legion from the city's garrison, officials and functionaries. They have all found themselves caught between the Overseer's orders and the People's Revolt. Many of them are biding their time, hoping the Legion or the Prefecture will spring into action and quell the unrest, but the Prefecture has yet to react. The city's prefect, Sir Elborn, still has not made it clear which side he's on. Even the clergy's been swept up into strife. Abbot Lennart is gathering new believers for a procession to the Silver Tree, where the people will elect a new patriarch. Old believer priests and common folk who prefer to cling to the lots and save their souls stand in opposition. Even the Inquisition, whose duty it is to protect the Church of the Twin Gods against heresy, has been tainted by this schism. The true fight for fate of Anizotte will begin in a matter of hours. You have had 8 years to curry influence among the people in this city. It's time to put your connections to the test. Who can you sway to your side? Who will be willing to sacrifice their lives and fight for your cause? Apparently nobody. How has this happened? I'm biding my time then. Oh, I'm going to end up with a shitty ending again, aren't I? God's sake. This will be a long day indeed. It will take all your wits and composure to do what must be done. You spend these last few hours of quiet biding your time and mustering your strength. You keep your ear to the ground and plan your next move. The timing for this respite rest could not be more perfect. The storm is yet to come. Both the defenders of the Imperial regime and the rebels need time to gather their forces for the pivotal clash. Gaius Tempest and the Legion will not arrive in Anizotte until nightfall. Only then will the fate of the revolt be decided in the ultimate struggle. The Legion is already on the march towards the rebellious city. What can the rebels do to oppose it? Everything depends on how the conflict and the day play out before the sun sets. The Prefecture and the gendarmes, will they pursue the rebels or take their side? Lennart's procession of new believers to the Silver Tree, will the people elect their first patriarch? The disjointed groups of insurgents, will they be able to unite? And if so, who will unite them? Your thoughts are interrupted. The sound of gunfire fills the city streets again. The lull is over. You can no longer wait. Okay, well at least I've got some willpower. That's something. A cornered beast. Noon approaches. Your thoughts keep returning to Sophia as you muster your forces for the impending fight for the city's future. Where is she right now? What are her plans? Where are her orders for the last straw? Joined by your followers, you carefully make your way through the now empty streets. Danger could lurk behind any corner. You take another turn and hear someone moaning in pain. You quickly zigzag to the edge of the Silver District. At the end of the street is a square in which several wooden stakes have been hastily erected. Nailed to each of the stake is a commoner dressed in bloodied, tattered rags. What is going on here? You sign for your men to take cover by the wall of an old factory. You hear the hooves of a single horse clattering along the cobblestones. A stately horseman rides through the stakes, a luxurious cloak draped around his shoulders. You have known his dire form since you were a lad. The Archnean's arrogant voice echoes through the square. People of Anizotte, hear my words. I am Dorius Otten, High Commander of Magra, leader of the noble militia. Otten points the tip of his sword at the writhing commoners. These lowborn wretches dared to sneak into the Silver District and rob noble homes, but I will not grant them the mercy of lesser death by my blade. They will live and suffer as befits their lot. This is their divine duty. Know this, rebels. Anyone who follows your precious Sophia will share the same fate. I know my runaway servant's wily ways, so I'll send you all at me without a second thought, and you will all die by my hand. She won't care. She's completely insane. All she wants is to see Anizotte burn to the ground. Your men exchange uneasy glances. You motion for them to remain quiet. You need to stay out of sight for now. Sophia, I know you're around here somewhere. You've grown up, but you're still my property. I can see your people turning their backs on you. All hope is lost. Come back to your lord and master. You will be mine forever. The lone rider is motionless and silent in the empty square. It's quiet. Even the captive commoners stifle their moans. Bang! A squad of last straw rebels spills out of an alleyway and rushes at Otten. Sophia is the first among them, her plain shirt stained with blood, a long, heavy musket in her hands. You lying, blue-faced whoreson! I want him alive. The People's Court will deal with him. Sophia stops and takes aim. Another gunshot rumbles. Otten's mare collapses, wounded, taking her rider to the ground. The rebels run towards Otten, celebrating his downfall. But then you hear the deafening clacking of hooves coming from the Silver District. The noble militia. The riders were waiting to ambush Sophia. Oh no! The elite cavalrymen smash into the last straw squad like a heavy steel gauntlet. The rebels are taken by surprise. They're about to retreat. Otten gets up from under his horse, his sword at the ready. Not one step back. Damn you! We'll fight them to the ends. The militia has the rebels and their leader surrounded. Your people are hugging the wall, trying to stay out of sight. They watch the fight anxiously, awaiting your orders. It's time to act. If Sophia is captured, she will not be there to lead the rebellion. However, if she escapes, the revolt will be ruled by her merciless, vindictive cruelty. This is about more than just Sophia, you remind yourself. This confrontation could decide the fate of the entire revolt. Okay. Wow, okay, so... basically, for me to become the leader, which is what gets me pretty much the ending I wanted, I have to have Sophia killed. Which, I mean, obviously I can't do. I don't know if I would have done that anyway, because that just seems dickish. Because as much as, okay, she's a little unhinged, I wanted carnage. I wanted... because everything has to be burnt to the ground in order to build it up again. There is going to be loss of life. Loss of innocent life, which is just... it sucks, but it's the way it is. So I am going to rush to Sophia's side. You give your orders quietly. Ready your weapons, be quiet, and follow me. We must rescue Sophia and her people. The rage of the battle and the deafening rumble of gunfire render the noble riders blind and deaf to your approach. You bring your squad closer, waiting for the perfect moment to take them by surprise. Sophia and her rebels fight with all their might, but the riders keep pushing. The ring around them becomes smaller and smaller. Squad! Attack! Our cause is just. Sophia, we're coming. Death to tyrants! Steel grinding against steel, clouds of acrid smoke, the stench of blood, horses neighing in terror. You used to walk to Sir Tibor's school along this very street, and now it's the site of a terrible battle. To find Sophia in the chaotic skirmish, you follow the flashes of magical yellow light. One by one, the riders fall from their saddles, paralysed by a spell. Sophia's sepia eyes burn with rage. Come here, Otten. I'll show you what your servant can do. Driven by blinding rage, the desperate young woman faces the armed and armoured riders on her own. You finally make your way to her side. Sophia! Niklaus, finally! Thought they got you. Come on, let's crush them together. You scream over the top of the skirmish. No! This is a battle you can't win. You have to abandon the captives. You have to get out of this trap right now. Sophia takes a moment to catch her breath and returns to her senses. The furious yellow light in her eyes dies down. Her loyal fighters form a shield around her, blocking another assault by Otten's riders. Reinforcements on horseback are already heading your way from the noble Silver District. You grab Sophia by the elbow. Your voice hoarse, you scream an order at the rebels. Retreat! You withdraw from the square down narrow back streets and alleyways under the cover of gunfire. The riders quickly lose track of you. Only Otten's screams of rage reach your ears now. Just wait until I get my hands on you, you filthy slut. You'd better thank the twins, I have more important matters to attend to. Jesus. In a quiet space surrounded by several houses with boarded up doors and windows, Sophia's rebels take a moment to lick their wounds. They join your fighters next. Few of these rebels survived, but they have the guns, training, and tenacity to see this through to the very end. While everyone recovers, you wander away to find Sophia. She's sitting on the doorstep of an abandoned house, far from the rest of you. I almost got us all killed, Niklaus. If it weren't for you, Otten tried to turn our own men against us. He told them I was crazy. I couldn't let him keep lying like that. You put a hand on Sophia's shoulder. Ever since this all began, you've both known that a revolt would cost you dearly. Right now, all you can do is keep fighting, no matter what. And if any other members of the Last Straw get scared and try to switch sides when faced with fire and blood, you will show them no mercy. Sophia should know that you will be with her side until the very end. By her side until the very end. Sophia gets back on her feet, angry flecks of gold glowing in her eyes again. You're right, no mercy. They listen to the enemy, they're the enemy too. I won't make the same mistake again. I'm through second guessing myself. These people need me. My place is here, in the street. I need to lead the people, give them a purpose, give them a leader, and grind the old order into dust. There's a big gathering at Empire Square over by the Chancellery. I should be there. If we want to fend off the Legion, I've got to bring this whole city together under a banner of the Last Straw. But we've still got plenty of enemies in Anizotte. I hear Otten and his militia have just moved out to the Prefecture. They want to execute Elborn and his judges for treason. There's lots of people in the Prefecture. We need them on our side. Who knows, maybe even Elborn will join us. You should head there. I'll start getting people together in Empire Square. Sophia squeezes your hand so hard it hurts. And come back to me as soon as you can, okay, Niklaus? I can't do this without you. You squeeze her hand in return, and then you part ways. Sophia and her most loyal rebels leave for Empire Square. Your next stop is Prefecture. Okay, good amount of willpower though, but it definitely looks like we're heading for the bloody ending. The Prefecture under siege. The searing sun looms high in the sky above the rebellious city. The square in front of the Prefecture is packed with commoners. Just a moment ago, they boldly demanded that the judges and gendarmes side with the rebellion. But now, they're terrified. They fear the noble army that's coming for them. Their calls for rebellion are gone, replaced by frightened screams. Hooves thunder against the cobblestones, the earth quakes beneath their feet. The noble militia led by Dorius Otten carves a path through the human sea. The terrified rebels scatter as the riders approach. The gendarmes remain where they are, forming a tight circle around the Prefecture and Elborn. The Prefect calls out to the crowd, his voice hoarse. "Everyone, stay calm. Let them through. Do not draw your weapons." Otten's riders push the mob aside and eventually reach the tall building. The Archnean commander draws in his reins, only when the gendarmes are all that separate him from the Prefecture stairs. "Prefect Elborn, how dare you disobey the orders of the province's rightful rulers? You have abused your position to appease the rebels and defy imperial rule. This inconceivable rebellion is your fault. It's time for you to accept your well-earned punishment. In the name of Archduke Melanidas, I hereby order you and your gendarmes to surrender your weapons." The Supreme Judge of the Prefecture maintains his composure in the face of this recrimination. "I only obey the laws of the Empire, Sir Otten. Not you or your runaway Archduke." Otten's face contorts into a predatory grin. "Excellent. You've had your chance to save face, old man. Instead of a dignified execution, you and your cronies will hang like the foul rabble you've betrayed us for." Otten lifts his sword skyward, prepared to order an assault. The riders behind him are about to attack. The gendarmes ready their clubs. Their hands are trembling. They will not stand a chance against the noble cavalry. The mob begins to shift, about to flee the square. The fate of this moment hangs by a thread. Oh, why can't I do anything? Upsettingly, if I'd have made a different decision back with getting my family out of Anizotte, I would be able to do this one, I think. But I can't, so I'm just going to stay out of it, and Elborn's going to die. I'm going to get some willpower, though, so, you know, yay. You and your followers observe the heated struggle at the stairs of the Prefecture from a distance. It's too late to get involved. What you can do now is watch and save your strength for the future. With a furious scream, Otten orders the noble militia to attack the Prefecture's defences. Cut the traitors down. No mercy. The cavalry turns to face the gendarmes with an onslaught of sharp steel. Bones crack beneath hooves, swords slice through the air. The stench of blood fills the square as fallen bodies dissipate into glimmering dust. Prefect Elborn shouts to the people for aid, but his voice is drowned out in the cacophonous fray. The common folk know that the Prefecture will collapse without support, but their deeply ingrained fear of the noble warriors is too strong. The human sea that once filled the square dries up in the blink of an eye. The gendarmes falter against the surging noble cavalry. Their line breaks. With no one to support them, they surrender their arms. The gendarme captain leads Elborn to Otten. "Please spare our lives, Sir Otten. My men and I will swear loyalty to you." The Archnean gracefully dismounts, ignoring the captain's pleas. "Time to die, Elborn, but I am no butcher. You may be a traitor, but you're still known as a man of honour. You deserve a nobleman's justice. So draw your sword, Elborn. It's time for you to learn that a court of honour is the only true trial." Elborn meets Otten's words with a bitter chuckle. The old man doesn't stand a chance against one of the most skilled swordsmen in Marlborough. "Dying in a barbaric ritual I fought against all my life? I suppose there's no changing this world after all, is there? Otten and Elborn cross swords. Elborn has grown unaccustomed to holding a sword, and it shows. The prefect's stance leaves much to be desired. He waves the blade around clumsily, leaving himself open to an attack. With a single riposte, Otten guides his blade straight into the old man's heart. Just another arrogant human. All this trouble just because of him. As for the gendarmes, kill them. A lesser death suits them well. This rebellion will be dead and buried by the time they make their way back from the hereafter. Be quick about it. We still have to breach the city gate. Please, listen to us. The noble riders quickly cut the prisoners' entreaties and lives short. Their uniformed bodies fall on the stairs of the prefecture, soon evaporating into a cloud of glittering mist. Once they're dealt with, Otten rides away with his cavalry, scattering the pathetic remnants of the rebellious mob. The prefecture is no more. Elborn and his gendarmes have been removed from the equation. They will not be there in the final clash. Your men have been keeping an eye on the city. They tell you that the procession to the Silver Tree has already begun. Abbot Lennart and his followers are on their way to elect him the new patriarch before the common folk and the twins themselves. The fate of the feud between the two faiths will be decided by their clash at the Silver Tree. You have to be there. You ready your men and head for the temple at the tree. Ooh, lordy. Lordy, lordy, lordy. The March of the New Faith. An enormous sea of humanity flows through Anizotte, filling the streets of the Temple District. They're led by Abbot Lennart. The new believers walk peacefully behind him, many of them women and the elderly. They are unarmed, their faces show neither fear nor anger. They are so drastically unlike the throngs of rebels who are currently ransacking streets and looting noble houses. The procession slowly makes its way towards the temple at the Silver Tree. The temple has always been where patriarchs of the church accept their sacred duty, along with the heavy burden of responsibility for their flock before the twin gods. When a patriarch speaks, the twins pay heed, and every 8 years it falls upon the patriarch to proclaim in their sights how the world is humbly following the lot it has been given. Long, long after the twins descended to our world, patriarchs came to be elected at the conclave by the clergy. This tradition has continued for many years. Today, dozens of priests have come to the temple in spite of the unrest to conduct the rite and spare the twins' world from their wrath. But now, thousands of commoners are walking to the same temple to elect the new patriarch themselves. You and your followers take a side street to the temple, avoiding the immense procession. Soon, the square by the tree is packed, teeming, overwhelmed, but the stairs to the temple doors cannot be reached. A stalwart phalanx of champions of faith blocks the way, with Zhen in the lead. They're joined by the Inquisitors, those who have decided to walk the path of the old faith until the very end. I will not allow you into the temple, Lennart. These heretics will not make you patriarch. Father Lennart slowly begins to ascend the stairs. He doesn't argue with Zhen. The abbot simply faces her with a humble smile and gestures at the people standing behind him. Doubt clouds the champions' faces. Lennart's procession is truly staggering. Even if they're mere commoners, even if they are unarmed and empty-handed, there are simply too many of them to be stopped by a few dozen old believers. Sister Jen, look at them. Are they truly heretics? All of them? They are just people, our brothers and sisters in faith. Why would the Inquisition treat us like enemies? We do not reject the twin gods, nay, we seek them with our every thought. You rejected the law of the younger when you chose to seek your own lots. No, Jen, the only thing we reject is Isatius' error. This argument has been going on for years, Lennart. I know each and every point you can make. Don't even bother. You will not enter this temple. And all these people, you're just dragging them down to the foot of the pillar along with you. How can you still not understand this after so many years? What do you think you're doing, Lennart? Don't you fear the wrath of the gods? I do not, Jen. When I become patriarch, I will tell the twins that we still love and revere them, just as we always have, even as we seek a different path to them. The twins will hear us, they will listen, and they will understand. There will be no wrath of the gods. The new believers heed Leonard's voice. They begin to firmly ascend the stairs to the door of the temple. The champion's swords do not deter them. Jen watches the massive congregation approach her, her eyes filled with remorse. She raises an arm, about to give her final order. Champions of faith, protect the sacred temple. Fight to the bitter end. You reach the foot of the stairs as she speaks. This is your last chance to intervene. No, it's not, because yet again I can't make any decisions. My god, it's like my real playthrough all over again. I'm just going to have to walk away. There can never be peace between the Inquisition and the New Believers. Sister Jen is right. The dispute between them has been going on for years. Neither side will ever yield to the other. You have nothing to gain here and everything to lose. You gesture to your followers hurriedly. Fall back. You watch Jen from a safe distance. No longer able to bear the tension, she orders her warriors to attack. Oh, Jen. In the name of the Younger, go forth. Drive them from this square. The champions of faith obey Jen's order. They get into formation and begin advancing on the new believers, weapons in hand. The unarmed mob recoils in fear, but those in the front row are pushed from behind and driven onto the blades. Blood splatters onto the stairs of the sacred temple. A woman's voice lets out a shrill scream. Panic spreads through the mob like wildfire. Chaos fills the minds of women and men. They begin pushing, pulling, dashing, recoiling like frightened animals, and the warriors of the church keep advancing, unrelenting and lethal. A mighty gust of wind rushes over the square. It roars, howls, almost screams, filled with remorse, agony and wrath. The earth begins to tremble beneath your feet, before your very eyes, as though in some terrible nightmare. The roof of the sacred temple begins to shake, and the pillars start to sway back and forth. No! By the twins, what is happening? Jesus! The streets jerk beneath you, buckling slightly. Some of your men struggle to remain on their feet, but you cannot look away from the square and the terrifying sight unfolding there, as people try in vain to escape the divine reckoning. After a few minutes, silence falls. Where the temple at the Silver Tree once stood, there is nothing. The grand, majestic structure is no more. It's been levelled to the ground. Remnants of its walls and roof are strewn across the square like building blocks, scattered by a massive hand. The stairs that once led to it have been ground into gravel. A cloud of dust slowly settles upon the square. After the dust comes the leaves. Thousands and thousands of leaves shed by the Silver Tree. They cover the corpses of the truly dead like a pale white shroud. The entire square glows as the bodies of those yet to be reborn dissolve into nothingness. There are so many that the light stings their eyes, even through the thick dust that still hangs over it all. Just how many people met their deaths today? You do not see another living soul in the square. Neither Lennart nor Jen survived the temple's collapse. The two irreconcilable enemies were both buried in the rubble. The wrath of the gods knows no mercy. What is done is done. There is no changing it. You begin mustering your forces and prepare to move to Empire Square. Enormous crowds of people are already on their way there, about to choose the leader of the Anizotte rebellion. The sun slowly begins to set. Oh, Jen. Oh, Jen. Oh, it's yeah. This is fully ending in a bloodbath. What have I done? I've got everything I wanted, and it's cost everything. The rebel leader. The sun is setting. The blood-red sky quavers in the hot smoke from the fires raging through the city. You can't help but recall a passage from the Lives of the Twins, one of the many pages Mother used to quote when you were a child. And the elder said, "Lo, I have cast a flame into the world, and I shall guard it until it begins to blaze." Could this passage be referring to today? You lead your followers to Empire Square. You walk around rubble, past abandoned carriages and unfinished barricades. There have clearly been clashes here recently. The dust of the departed is still raising into the sky. Thousands fill the square before the Chancellery, well over half the commoners of Anizotte. The Chancellery has been under rebel control since noon. All Imperial officials either fled or were torn apart by the mob. Scraps of rumours and gossip reach your ears as you move closer. Did you hear what happened at the Great Tree? It's the Inquisitors. They just started slaughtering folks. They grabbed them swords of theirs and started killing unarmed people. Lennart's procession made it to the temple. There was a sign from the twins. All lies. The twins got angry and destroyed them all under the tree. The temple's gone, I tells you. Gone for good. The crowd's on edge. Any dispute could explode into a brawl. A voice from the Chancellery stairs calls for another People's Court. The mob turns as one. Several last straw rebels drag a handful of well-dressed nobles out onto the streets and force them to their knees. The leader of the executioners is a preacher with the mane of unkempt hair and the wild eyes of a lunatic. They're younger. He speaks through us, he does. He gives us the power of his law, the power to punish our enemies, to execute them. Anyone who stands in our way is an enemy of the twins themselves. People, it's time to judge these enemies of the simple folk. What is your sentence? The mob roars so loudly the square shakes. Death, true death. The last straw rebels ready their guns. One of the captives gets to his feet and speaks out defiantly. You dare call this pathetic freak show a people's court? You don't have the power. You never have and you never will. You think you can wield the law of the twins? Bah! We'll come back and we'll make you pay. The aged nobleman's last words are drowned out by a thunderous volley of gunfire. One by one, the nobles collapse, their bodies pierced by bullets. They remain where they fall. The mob gasps in amazement. There can be no doubt. The People's Court has the power to mete out true death at will. This is what will happen to anyone who dares to oppose us. All hail the revolt. All hail our leader. All hail Sophia. Sophia's gonna lead us. She's gonna fend off the Legion. She's gonna bring justice. First to Anizotte, then to the whole Empire. She's gonna tear down the old ways and wipe all them tyrants and nobles from the face of the world. The mob explodes into an ecstatic chant. They shout one word over and over again. Sophia! Sophia! The enormous throng bellows wildly, eager to see the face of its leader. Well, I'm in for a penny at this point. I may as well get behind Sophia. Unite the rebels around Sophia. I'm in it now. I'm committed. You make your way through the crowd and reach the Chancellery stairs. You belong here, by Sophia's side. I do, because she is in fact my main squeeze. The door of the Chancellery swings open, and Sophia emerges before the thousands of people gathered in the square. Her silhouette seems to blaze in the light of the setting sun. She raises a clenched fist in the air, demanding silence. The enormous crowd ceases its murmuring at once. The voice of the leader of the revolt rings with frigid fury. People of Anizotte, today is not only the day we took up arms and cast off our shackles. Today is the first day of a new era. We will begin by taking back our city. We will eliminate anyone who dares to stand in our way. Then we will declare war against the old regime, against the entire empire. Upon hearing these words, even the most frantic rebels fall silent. A frightened murmur ripples through the crowd. Is Sophia asking them to take on the entire world? You exchange glances with Sophia and step forward. Surely the people do not think the Empire will simply allow Anizotte to remain free after hundreds of years of slavery and tyranny. The people of Anizotte have already crossed the line. There's no turning back. Anyone who fights for the revolt today will go down in history as a hero. Today's sparks will rekindle tomorrow's fire, and that fire will spread until the entire Empire burns to the ground. Our fear of the nobles and divine retribution is a thing of the past. Our future lies in struggle and freedom. The people know you. You are Niklaus Brante, and you will fight for Sophia until the very end. The people cheer ecstatically. Sophia steps forward again, her eyes gleaming with yellow light. The crowd falls silent, rapt with attention, the golden light reflected in thousands of eyes. Well said, Brante. No mercy, nobles, defenders of the old faith, the tyrants of the old regime. They will all be executed by the People's Court. Every single enemy of the Anizotte revolt will be eliminated. Arm yourselves. Find and execute our enemies before the Legion reaches the city. And then, when the bell tolls, go to the walls. We will unite the entire city and take our freedom by force. Jesus, man. The people echo Sophia's cry. Artisans, merchants, peasants from the outskirts of Anizotte, they all take up arms and join the ranks of the last straw. The rest form into gangs, ready to unleash their wrath against temples and noble houses alike. Sophia catches her breath after her rousing speech and grips you by the shoulder. I knew you'd be by my side when the time came, Niklaus, and we've got all the commoners on our side now too. But we're short on time. I'll go hunt down our enemies inside the walls. I need to take charge of the People's Court. You should go defend the city from the Legion. You eagerly accept this assignment. A report soon arrives from the scouts at the gates. The Legion is only a few hours away. The final battle is drawing near. Will the outcome of the revolt be decided in combat, or is there a peaceful solution? It all depends on the actions you take in the coming hours. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. Let's do this. The final throws, people. The final throws. Oh my god. The final hour. It's mere moments from midnight. The glow of the shining pillar is barely visible behind the crimson clouds coming in from the north. But the darkness hanging above the city is dissipated by countless lights. Crowds of people holding torches, stakes burning in the square, houses in flames. The glow of the fires can also be seen from beyond the city walls. The Legion marches down the road, inexorably approaching the gate of a city in the throes of rebellion. The final battle draws near. All the forces that have chosen to defy the Overseer and the Empire flock to the city gates, where you've set up base. The soldiers of the last straw assemble commoners into squads and hastily arm them. Other rebels are led by nobles of the Mantle and former members of the Legion who have joined the revolt. The priests who have sided with you will spread the word of the twins from the city walls, attempting to convince the Legion soldiers to retreat and allow the people of Anizotte to be free of the lots. Preparations are also in full swing at the camp of the defenders of the Old Order, who have established a foothold in the ruins of Shah Melanidas's palace. Soon, their fates will be decided. Will they crush the revolt with the aid of the Legion, or be crushed themselves by the new era? There is almost no time left. Just enough for one last attempt to tip the scales in your favour. Will you spend this final hour appealing to one of your allies for help? Or would it be wiser to wait and muster your forces for the final battle? Will you attempt to defeat the Legion and the Overseer's army in combat, or persuade them to retreat without engaging in battle? The fate of Anizotte is in your hands. I mean, again, not giving me a whole lot of choice, but okay. You know, Elborn's dead. Lennart's dead. My family's gone. So I could have potentially still become the leader of the last straw. Interesting. But alas, 'tis not the way, so I am gonna go into this with maximum willpower. My preparations are complete. All I need to do now is save strength for the moment of truth. I feel going into this with 30 willpower is definitely not a bad thing. The day has already turned out to be the most arduous of your entire life, and the hardest part is yet to come. You need to take advantage of this lull to clear your mind. Who knows? Perhaps your inner strength is what will decide the outcome of the coming clash. You walk away from the army's noisy preparations, sit on a parapet, and watch the city burn. Off in the distance, you can just make out the district where you were born and raised. Your memories bring you back to a time when you first walked these streets. In your mind's eye, you see the young faces of Thomas, Stefan, Gloria. But that's all in the past now. Midnight strikes. You can hear the menacing tread of the Legion outside the city walls. The time has come. You order your troops to assemble and prepare to defend the wall. Oh. The battle for Anizotte. I knew it was ending this way, but it's not the ending I maybe would have wanted, but blood has to be spilled. The dark void beyond the walls of Anizotte is lit by hundreds of lights. Heavy boots tread the soil. Armour clanks, halberds gleam, drums beat a lively march. Lit by the glow of torches, the Magran Legion approaches the city walls. Gaius Tempest himself leads the Legion. It's the Overseer's duty to crush the revolt this very night and pacify the city before news of this incident spreads throughout the Empire. If the Overseer's hesitation allows the result to last even a few days, it could jeopardise not only his position, but even the fate of the entire province that has been entrusted to him. Before ordering an assault, the Overseer sent a message to the city. "My subjects, lay down your arms this instant and open the gate. I know that you have been deceived by the insurgency. You have my word as an Arcanian ruler that I will spare anyone who aids the Legion and turns over the leaders of this revolt. Should you disobey this order from your lawful ruler, none of you will escape disgrace, execution, and eternal torment at the foot of the Shining Pillar." But the Overseer's threat only further enraged the rebels, an entire city rebelling against Imperial rule. Nothing like this has happened for generations. But not even experts in ancient history could have imagined what is happening on the streets of Anizotte at this moment. The decisions you made today have led the entire city to rise up against Imperial rule. By nightfall, everyone who has suffered from noble tyranny has taken to the streets in support of the last straw. Even those who began the day cowering in terror from the Overseer's wrath have now emerged from their homes and joined the cause. The commoners' fear has been eclipsed by their rage. They march through the city in droves, ready to dispense their own justice. By sunset, even the most loyal defenders of the Empire have come to realise that all hope is lost. The Loyalists have amassed considerable forces at Shah Malanadas's palace, but they are too late. Hordes of furious commoners storm their camp, crushing any resistance. Exhausted and demoralised by the futile fight, many defenders of the old order flee mob justice or surrender and accept their death with dignity. The moans of those trampled by the incensed throng can be heard throughout the camp. Abandoned Imperial banners are hurled into fire. "Make way!" The crowd grows silent and parts before Sophia. The leader of the revolt is dishevelled, her clothes stained with blood, but a predatory smile lingers on her face. Here, amidst fire and madness, she has finally found her place in the world. "Just look at your former masters now. Pathetic, ain't they? They thought they could put us in chains again, but they dropped their swords at the first sight of us. They lied to you for centuries, telling you it was your lot to suffer and break your back for them, but look who's suffering now. I give you my word. Tonight, we're going to execute anyone who isn't on our side. Every single one of them. And then we'll feast among the ruins of the old world." The crowd roars, shaking their weapons in the air. Now the only thing standing between us and freedom is the Legion. But we'll take down the Overseer's troops just like we took down the Emperor's lackeys here in Anizotte. But first, we need to get rid of the rest of the enemies and traitors in this camp. Sophia takes a glance around the site of the recent massacre. Her merciless gaze stops at you. "Wait a minute, what?" "Brante. The time has come. This moment will determine your place in history." "Accept death. Why would I do that?" "Defy Sever. I mean, I'll die. And I don't want to do that." "Well, like I said before, I'm in for a penny. We're going to go. We're going to take charge of the bloodbath. We're going to spill blood. Much, much, much blood." You meet Sophia's gaze. You share her ruthless determination. Together, you will dispose of anyone who dares to stand in your way. The path you've chosen will lead to plenty of blood and suffering. You're both ready. Your cause leaves no room for hesitation. You handle the executions, Niklaus, but hurry. The Legion's about to attack. At least we don't have to worry about getting attacked from the rear. Go on, get your verdicts. I'll be waiting for you up on the walls. Leaving a small squad with you, Sophia rushes off to defend the gate. You eagerly get to work. Your soldiers dash around the wrecked camp and drag all the survivors to one spot. High-ranking nobles, inquisitors, commoners from the enemy militia, they're all thrown to the ground at your feet. You're surrounded by a horde of enraged commoners, desperate to strangle their enemies with their bare hands. You order them to restrain themselves. This is not how it's done. Do they want their enemies to come back from the hereafter and take revenge? You need the verdict of the People's Court. At your order, the captives are lined up and forced to their knees. The crowd cheers in bloodthirsty anticipation, eager for their next execution. The gunmen raise their muskets. You address the people of Anizotte, loudly announcing that these are enemies of their freedoms who have dared to take up arms against the great cause of the revolt. What is their verdict? True death! The gunmen take aim and fire, again and again, until the last of the captives fall, their bodies pierced by bullets. They twitch helplessly, then lie still. Meanwhile, you can hear the din of battle from the walls. Siege ladders fly up against the ramparts. The ground shakes with the heavy tread of the Legion's iron boots. You must hurry. You assemble a squad and head towards the gates. It's slow going. Fires have blanketed Anizotte in acrid smoke. The noble districts are all in flames, as is the Chancellery. The temples of the Old Faith are ablaze, and priests who refuse to join the rebels are burned alive within. My god. Bodies dressed in luxurious clothing float face down in the fountains. The bodies of those executed by firing squad lay in heaps by the walls. The cobblestones are littered with the corpses of those hurled from the windows of their own homes. The robbers loot the crypts of noble families, tossing ancient bones into the dirt. But right now, the streets are empty. Everyone capable of holding a weapon is rushing to defend the gate. By the time you arrive, the battle has already reached its peak. Deafening gunshots ring out from above. Brante, come here! We fought off the first attack. You clamber up onto the wall, giving orders as you go, as if placing toy soldiers. You almost bump into Sophia. She's excited. She's black from gunpowder smoke. She squeezes your shoulder. We repelled the first attack, Niklaus. That blue-faced bastard sent us a herald. Said we should lay down our arms and surrender. I shot him right in the face. Meanwhile, the Overseer orders another assault. Take the wall. Come on, men. They're just commoners. They don't stand a chance against you. This time, Gaius Tempest sends 2 battalions of heavy infantry to the wall to the left of the gate. They're followed by archers. Not even gunshots can stop this attack. The ladders fly up. A hail of arrows pelt your positions. Hold the line. I'll hit the archers. You hold the wall. Don't let them through. The defenders of the walls attempt to throw the ladders back, hurtling stones at their assailants and pouring boiling oil on them. But the onslaught is too strong. One by one, the Legion soldiers begin to leap from their ladders and onto the city walls. If you falter now, all is lost. You gather your best men and send them against the Legion soldiers. The walls erupt into bloody mayhem. All over the walls, the bodies of the fallen fade into brilliant flashes of light. You and your soldiers desperately hack, shoot, and hurl enemies from the wall. The siege ladders fall to the ground below. The attack has been repelled. Twice more, Gaius Tempest orders his troops to attack the wall. Twice more, the walls are stained with blood. Twice more, your soldiers withstand the onslaught. The dawn is drawing near. Even from your position on the walls, you see the Legion soldiers slowly, hesitantly regrouping for their next attack. Desperate, the Overseer himself steps forward to address his demoralised troops. Are you really afraid of some commoners who can barely hold a weapon? Don't fear them, you fools. Fear the wrath of your Emperor. Fear the wrath of the Tempests. It is your sacred duty to re-establish Imperial rule in Anizotte. The city will fall, and its pathetic rebellion will be crushed. Go forth. I will lead the charge myself. The Overseer raises his ancient sword high above his head. The Legion soldiers shudder. No member of the royal family has taken up arms in centuries. The first rays of the rising sun appear on the horizon, breaking through the grey storm clouds. Led by its royal commander, the Legion begins its decisive attack. Ragged, covered in blood, barely able to stand, you get the surviving soldiers back on their feet and order them to defend the city one last time. Not even the twins themselves could get through this gate. But the time for speeches has long passed. Now there is only smoke, blood, clanking of swords. Now you can just fight and win. You see the Imperial banner flutter before you. The Legion soldiers are scaling the wall, the Overseer himself first among them. You and your men rush towards the banner. You will capture Gaius Tempest. Sensing that victory is close at hand, your warriors use their last ounce of strength to break through to the enemy commander. The legionnaires are trying to form a defensive ring around the overseer, but the enraged rebels dash them aside like toy soldiers. Gaius Tempest is surrounded. Wielding his sword masterfully, he slays one of your soldiers after another. Sophia suddenly emerges from behind him, her furious visage aglow with sorcerous sparks. Freeze! Against his will, the Arknian nobleman stumbles and halts. It's now or never. You charge at your enemy and knock the blade from his hands. Still bound by Sophia's spell, Gaius Tempest stares at you in astonishment. A dozen soldiers pin him against the wall. Sophia stops beside you, casting a mocking glance at the defeated commander. Who's the master now, huh? The leader of the revolt picks up a fallen Imperial banner and tosses it off the edge of the wall. Down below, the soldiers of the Legion begin to flee. You have won. The surviving defenders on the wall simply lean against the merlons, exhausted, or simply collapse. Down by the gates you hear triumphant shouts, like a wave. They roll further, over the streets and squares, over the entire city. Victory. Anizotte has won its freedom. The Overseer glares at you icily. There is genuine bitterness in his voice. Madmen! You've doomed your city. It will be destroyed. I was not your enemy until you forced me to send my army against you. One step at a time. I would have changed this province. I would have made your lives better. But now the entire force of the Empire is about to come crashing down upon you. The punishment for your insolence will be terrible indeed. And what was it all for? What do you hope to achieve? Freedom from butchers like you. Butchers like me? And what exactly do you think you are? You withstood my attack today. Now what? Do you want the entire world at war? What will become of the Empire after your revolt? You look back at your city, crimson in the glow of flames and the rays of the rising sun. You turn back to your former ruler. I want to burn it all down. That's what I've been saying from the beginning. That's what I originally set out for. And I mean, everything's currently on fire, so I guess that's a success. Those who used to be in power will burn. The old regime will burn. The endless injustice the Empire is built on, it will all burn. Sophia grabs the captive commander by the neck and forces him to face the city. A massive crowd has gathered by the gates. Everyone is watching, waiting to see what will become of the Overseer. See? See how many of us there are? Your day is done. Say bye-bye to your power, Blueface. Sophia raises a fist in the air and proclaims victory before the entire city. People of Anizotte, we've won. Nothing in the Empire can stop us now. But remember, this was just the beginning. Next we're going to put the whole Empire on trial, and the first person we're going to judge is Gaius Tempest, your former Overseer and the Emperor's brother. You know all about the crimes against you. What is the verdict, people of Anizotte? The fateful words roll through the square like thunder. True death. This cannot be. The law is divine. Only the twins can grant the right to judge. Sophia hands you a dagger. Nicolaus Brante will carry out the sentence. Raising the blade aloft, you step towards Gaius Tempest as he kneels before you. The crowd roars. Strength beyond imagining soars through your arm. With one swift motion, you slit the former Overseer's throat. Royal blood runs down your fingers. The man who, just yesterday, was one of the most powerful Arknians in the Empire, collapses at your feet. You raise the bloody dagger high in the air. The Empire has been sentenced to death. Time stands still. You look back at the years gone by, all the difficult decisions you had to make, all the actions that helped you take your place in history. You've put an end to the old era with your own hand. Your destiny has been fulfilled. He's dead. The Overseer is dead. Go on, people. There are plenty of enemies left in the city. It's high time they learned the true meaning of suffering. Find them, capture them,
and execute them. Brante will lead you. The bloody procession begins to scour Anizotte for the enemies of the revolt. Once the city is purged, it will continue its march from province to province. In time, it will reach the capital, and then the throne of the Emperor himself, and you are in command of it. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man.
Fire and blood engulfed the streets of Anizotte
Oh, Anizotte.
before spreading to the rest of the Empire.
A new day dawns, because I didn't die, and I didn't escape from the city. It's morning. You stumble along a now empty back street, utterly exhausted after the most trying night of your life. An elderly stranger in a threadbare cloak shambles down the road in the opposite direction. The old man looks around cautiously at every step, seemingly struggling to remember where he is. As you approach him, he suddenly stops and speaks to you.
Good morning to you.
You slow down for the old man and wearily return his greeting.
May I ask you a favour, my friend?
You barely have enough energy to waste today, but there's something about this old stranger's voice that compels you to listen. A favour? What kind of favour?
Well, my brother and I had a disagreement, you see, and I want to know who's right. My brother says the world is already perfect as it is. The twins made it like this after all.
The old stranger pauses, casting a glance over the street. The charred carcasses of buildings and homes, the overturned carriages, the dried bloodstains on the paving stones.
And I told my brother that no matter what their initial design may have been, the world as it is now needs to change. So then my brother asks me, what exactly needs changing? But I had no answer for him. So here I am, wandering around, tormented by this question. Would you help us settle our dispute, my good man? Who's in the right here, me or my brother? If you were in the twins' place, what would you do? What about this world needs changing?
I would free mortals from the lots. If it were up to you, you would make it known that everyone is free to choose their own lot and their own path to the twins. Put a hand on the old man's shoulder. Why, this quarrel was settled long ago. All the suffering in the world, all the injustice, all the wickedness, it all stems from the error made by Prophet Anizotte. The lots were forced upon people by other people, and the twins have been condoning it for centuries, thereby dooming their great creation to eternal suffering. You have met many, many people in your life who rejected the lot of their birth, but their intention was never to defy the law of the twins. They sought only to be free from other mortals. If you were the twins, you would make it known that everyone is free to find their own path to them, and then, step by step, their divine design would attain perfection all by itself. The old man looks at you in surprise. Oddly enough, he seems to be completely unaware of the new faith.
But then, how can you tell the righteous from the wicked?
You readily explain, the wicked are those who willingly choose to defy the twins and the eternal bliss they bring. The righteous, on the other hand, are those who seek the twins within themselves, who pray to them, seeking their guidance and approval. Everyone should be free to choose their own lot and bear their own burden. Then we will remain within the twins' great design, but be free to find our own place within it. The stranger spends a long time pondering what you've told him.
I can feel the pain and the truth in your words. Thank you, Niklaus, for settling our disagreement.
The old man rewards you with a slight nod, then slowly walks away. Wait, how did he know your name? You spin around, but the street is empty. Outcome of the revolt. It only took a few days for the entire Empire to learn of the revolt and the events that transpired in Anizotte. The unthinkable victory of the common folk over the war engine that was the Imperial Legion, the ruthless and fearsome leaders of the rebellion, the terrifying slaughter of the nobles, priests, and anyone else who stood in the insurgents' way. By the end of the second day, the revolt had reduced the city of Anizotte to a charred, smouldering ruin. Thick,
Acrid smoke from burning buildings and gunpowder blanketed the city. Bodies swung from ropes on every street. The result of the justice of the people's courts, sprawled, abandoned, lead-riddled corpses, could be found in every square. The events of those days entered the annals of history as the Great Anizotte Massacre. But the rebels were not content. Having purged all their enemies from Anizotte, they immediately began to march across the province. Every town and village in their way was freed from the noble rule, as the landowners fled in terror. The commoners abandoned their homes and armed themselves to fight beneath the banner of the last straw. The rebel army grew larger and stronger by the day. So began their bloody campaign of destruction. Wherever the rebels march, the old ways of the Empire collapse. They have no mercy, leaving nothing behind but smouldering ruins and the ashes of the dead. Age-old traditions burn as their ravenous flames consume town after town, city after city. The old noble dynasties are amassing their own armies beneath the banner of the Tempests to fight off this chaos. But the rebel hordes are already approaching the capital. There is no stopping them. Sophia's dream of waging a war against the old world has begun. Regardless of the outcome, the Empire will never be the same again. The bloodthirsty march of the rebellion obliterated any semblance of rule or law in Magra. The last straw and its followers massacred all the old rulers, leaving chaos and anarchy in their wake. It was only inevitable that the province would fall into the hands of outlaws and marauders. The old ways are gone, but can the people of Magra build something new in their place? The clash between the old faith and the new continued, and the schism in the clergy grew. The people of Magra remained similarly divided. Neither doctrine has enough power to prevail over the other, so the venomous accusations and fervent disputes continue. The Inquisition is powerless to end the struggle. The strife between the faiths will continue to fester. The people of the province and the Empire will never be at peace until they decide which path of worship is the one that leads to the twins. The land of Magra is dead. The crisis of the past few years have annihilated the province's former prosperity. The fields have been razed, trampled and scorched. The livestock has been culled. The factories lie in ruins. The common folk face one lesser death after another from illness and hunger. Even the wealthiest noble estates have grown destitute. The land scarred by Charmer Lanades's curse has reaped yet another harvest of lives. Lawless anarchy replaced the old order, plunging Margaret into chaos. The people of the province can no longer know whose orders and which laws they're to follow, and the authorities that remain have no power to maintain order. The most reckless commoners become outlaws and thieves. The nobles feud amongst themselves. Bloodshed, looting, and wanton cruelty become commonplace in Margaret, and this lawlessness soon spreads to the rest of the Empire. The Anizotte revolt was followed by more omens that shook the Empire. In every temple throughout the Empire, the symbols of the sacraments, the lash, the sword, and the book, turns to ash in an instant. The commoners' scars left by the sacramental lash all disappeared overnight, completely healed. All across the Empire, priests and laymen debated the meaning of this sign, but the twins have uttered their word. What became of Philip Helfera? He's dead. I killed him. And it was great. Until his dying breath, Sir Philippe refused to believe that the last straw, his own creation, would ever rise against him. Yet Philippe's own fate proved that the common estate has also obtained the power to render judgment. The secret chancellery advisor became the first person in history to be sentenced to true death by the common folk. The first, but hardly the last. Yeah, this is interesting because he was still in Anizotte, so did he slip away somewhere? The Archneon commander fought with all his might against the rebellious rabble he so despised, yet even a skilled swordsman such as he was doomed when confronted with a citywide uprising. The haughty Archneon became Sophia's prisoner, and so his life was forfeit. He spent his final moments in inconceivable agony. Sophia did not permit him to die until his spirit and body were completely and utterly broken. That's fair. Long after the once invincible Dorius Otton was no more, the corpse of the mighty Archneon remains chained to the Anizotte Gate. Oh my god, I've created Mad Max. The highest judge in Margra, Augustine Elborn, was killed in a duel with Anizotte. The life of Sir Elborn ended before the fight for Anizotte had come to a definitive conclusion. His legacy soon vanished into oblivion. Abbot Leonard had hoped to become the first patriarch elected by the people. This was not meant to be. The leader of the new faith met his end beneath the ruins of the very temple that had been entrusted into his care. He is remembered as a priest who provoked the wrath of the twins themselves and reduced the Empire's greatest holy place to rubble. Thomas, I'm sorry, Thomas. I'm sorry you had to die. Thomas Guerrero always tried to make his own way in the world, but his independence became his undoing when he fell afoul of Dorius Otton, the military commander of Margra. The noble lot did nothing to protect Thomas from the whims of the mighty Arknian. As the Empire was consumed by unrest, no one noticed or remembered the final death of a Legion officer by the name of Thomas Guerrero. Ever since she was young, Sophia had been the living embodiment of hatred, the spawn of every hideous injustice committed in the Empire. She prevailed in struggle for Anizotte, and that victory finally revealed her true power. Now, Sophia casts her shadow over every corner of the Empire, her eyes blazing with yellow flame, eager to incinerate every army and province in her path. No one can stop Sophia and defeat her bloodthirsty hordes. After the victory in Anizotte, the inveterate rebel began a brutal war against the Old Order. A war that had seemed utterly unthinkable just a few years ago. A war of annihilation. Sophia is remembered as the woman who destroyed the blessed Arknian Empire and burned the old world to the ground. Thanks to your efforts, the Brante family escaped Anizotte with their lives just before the rebellion reached its apex, but there would be no return to the rebellious city. The family home was burned to the ground by a rioting mob, and their old life was lost along with it. The Brontes never picked a side in the Battle for Anizotte, and in the end, they were rejected by both factions. Now the family must roam the Empire, looking for a new place to take shelter. Left without a home, influence, or friends, the Brontes have fallen on hard times. They're ready to face the future bravely, as long as they have each other. Oh, well, that's kind of okay. Your father lost his status, his career, and his home. The rebellion destroyed Robert Bronte's life and gave him nothing in return. When the world changed, your father found himself unable to adapt and find a new place in it. He had no choice but to abandon his ambitions and live in obscurity. His family was all he had left, so he dedicated himself to caring for its well-being. That's good, that's nice. Lydia Bronte's health had become very delicate over the years. The new challenges the family had to face amid the growing unrest were a staggering blow from which he never recovered. Your father did everything he could to preserve Lydia's life, but his efforts were in vain. She soon passed away quietly and meekly in her bed. In her last moments, Lydia prayed to the twins. She had led a righteous life, and she departed for the twins' final judgment without fear. Stefan never accepted the new order. Frustrated by your decision and the success of the revolt, he was not ready to come to terms with a free Anizotte that had stripped him of his noble privileges. Yet, he never became your enemy. Despite the growing distance between you, he did, however, choose to leave his home city, never to return. Stefan moved to the capital and worked hard to pursue a military career and find a place in the Emperor's court. For many long years, your elder brother lived alone, far from the rest of you, yet he still carried the name Brante and never stopped writing letters back home. Stefan was too plain-spoken to survive the intrigue and never-ending power struggles of the capital. His bold and ambitious nature swiftly earned him a plethora of enemies at court. Before long, he was falsely accused of plotting against the crown. However, Stefan found the strength to reach out to your father for help. A man equally skilled at courtroom arguments and backroom diplomacy, Robert intervened just in time to save his son from execution. Stefan was quick to take advantage of his enemies' unravelled plots. When the false accusations crumbled, he used them as stepping stones for his own career. In a matter of years, your elder brother became the supreme commander of the Imperial Legion. He never saw the faces of his loved ones again, but his family remained in his heart for the rest of his life. Gloria's new life as a nobleman's wife put an end to her youthful ardour. When she moved to her husband's home, her fervent poetry and her struggle in the name of the common folk remained in the past. As time went on, she languished more and more in the monotony of her new life. After the Brante family cut all ties with her, Gloria felt all alone in the world and sunk deeper into melancholy by the day. Sir Jose El Pelletier offered her genuine love, but she never came to accept it. He tended to her with selfless, cordial love, but his efforts were all rejected. Driven by despair, Gloria eventually attempted to flee, but was caught. El Pelletier never forgave her for this. Once she had been returned, Gloria's husband treated her like property, denying her any freedom whatsoever. And so Gloria remained in his noble mansion to the end of her days, surrounded by luxury, silence, and solitude. Lord. Nathan left Anizotte with your blessing, inexplicably managing to escape the city in the middle of the revolt. He then set out on a lengthy journey across the Empire. He emerged unscathed from every danger or hardship he encountered during his travels. It was as though the twins themselves were watching over him. One day, after months of wandering the world as a pilgrim, Nathan suddenly returns to Anizotte. Your brother walked to the silver tree where he spoke to the people. You told him about how he had met the elder twin himself, who had descended from on high to walk the world once more. Nathan confessed all his transgressions and sins to him, knowing full well that he would find no mercy, only eternal torment at the foot of the pillar. To his surprise, the elder listened to him with tears in his eyes, filled with compassion for his own creation. He forgave Nathan for all the evils he had done. After his sermon, followers started flocking to Nathan's side. In time, they came to call themselves the Elders' Witnesses. Their teachings began to make their way across the Empire. To this day, Nathan's disciples still spread the word. The twin gods have learned forgiveness. Oh, go on, Nathan! Not even in the afterlife did Gregor Brante see the realisation of his great dream. His descendants failed to have the Brante name ennobled by the sword. The Brante bloodline was denied its chance to become one of the Empire's most eminent dynasties. The blood tide ushered in by Gregor Brante would never have another chance at immortality. Side by side with Sophia, you began the march against the old ways and the rebellious hordes followed you. No one remembered your old name any longer, but your new name instilled terror in every corner of the Empire. The Butcher of Anizotte. The cruelty with which you dispatched your enemies became the stuff of legend. Along the way, you faced many powerful foes and crushed them all. Free from fear of death, unafraid of the twins' judgment, again and again you emerged from the flames to bring the common folk the freedom they so coveted, and they fought for you until they bled their last. You, the Butcher of Anizotte, became a flame that incinerated the monstrous, decrepit husk of an empire until nothing remained. But it was not your fate to see whether or not a new world would rise from the ashes of the old. So ends the life and suffering of Nicolaus Bronte. And then just very kind of unceremoniously, I'm dead now. Good. So, am I thankful to the gods for the life I've lived? I am calm. Because, okay, this has ended in a lot more bloodshed than I had anticipated, but it's not, we were never going to be able to make things like change instantly. I honestly feel like the fact that we've burnt everything to the ground, okay, it's either going to level the playing field for then generations to build up in the future to something good, or I've created the world of Mad Max. But I'm calm. I wanted something. I've learnt the lesson. Maybe be a bit careful what you wish for, because while I wanted to burn it down, I've literally burnt it down. What was my life to me? Toil. I was toiling for my purpose. What did I live for? Freedom. What did I leave behind? Change. Much change. This time I have brought much change. It's not for me to judge whether I have changed the world for the better. I mean, because really, I've kind of made it worse, but in the long run, it could grow to something better. What determined my destiny? Myself. I did. I did. Where do I belong? At the peak of the pillar, at the foot of the pillar. I'm going to send myself to the peak of the pillar again, because I think on my final playthrough I'll probably go for the foot of the pillar, because I do want to see what that is, but not yet. Not yet. Oh my god, we did it. Okay, so redemption has been achieved. Kind of. It would have been nice to have not become the Butcher of Anizotte, sure. But at the same time, I have said from the get-go I wanted to burn everything to the ground, and I hadn't really envisioned what that was going to look like. Because I've done that. I have burned everything to the ground. And obviously when you burn an entire way of life to the ground, it's going to create a void that is then going to be filled by something, which obviously it has. So I'm not necessarily saying that this is a good ending at all. In a lot of ways it's a very bad ending. But it is the ending I wanted. Well, it's the playthrough I wanted. Either way, the redemption playthrough has been a success. So next time we are moving on to the holy lot. We are going to take up the church. So, if you would rather see the old faith or the new faith, or see which one I want to go for, then let me know. Leave me a comment and I will do that. If not, I will just decide on the fly. But yeah, there's going to be 2 priest run-throughs, one for old faith, one for new faith. We'll see how that goes. So, if you want to check this out for yourself in the meantime, then the link to the game page is in the description. If you have any comments or anything, or you just want to let me know what a horrible person I am for becoming the Butcher, then leave me a comment, let me know. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, then why don't you go ahead and hit the like button, the bloodthirsty butcher that is the subscribe button. Make sure you... Ah, bad boy. And until next time, love you, bad.